listening to the sweet sounds of the After Movie Diner. Support us at patreon.com/After Movie Diner. Or I'll punch you in the teats. Rate and review us on iTunes, Earthling. And now, here's your host, Jon Cross.
In this world, which, just when you thought you'd seen its lowest, most idiotic point, and surely there was about to be some groundswell of humility, logic, laughter, love and understanding, some ludicrously haired twazzock with all the charisma of a defecation bucket in a crudely constructed First World War lean-to treatment centre for trench foot, shows us all that there are still more depths yet to plumb. The After Movie Diner's New Year's show is here again, like it seems to just bob up to the top of the toilet water of life like a ginormous and weirdly hairy number 2 that just won't flush. Positioned somewhere between the unwelcome yet strangely warming shoulder grope by a slightly handsy but potentially well-meaning uncle and the inevitability of death, taxes, and that all reality TV is the obnoxious, toxic, facile, and catastrophically stupid root cause of so much of the pain and suffering in my life, this annual endeavour of this barely listened to and rarely enjoyed podcast is, for me, and I hope for at least a few others, a winking light in the darkness. Most likely it's the annoying light of a 90s digital clock radio in a dingy Airbnb you rented by mistake in Ohio, and so that you can get to sleep, you get up and drape a sock over it, but I will take that over, I don't know, being a host of a corporate-funded morning show and having to smile while chewing on the testicle hair found on the feces you're trying to regurgitate up over America's breakfast coffee. Well, dear listener and probable lover of puffins, I hope you have your buttocks clenched, your thighs sufficiently lubricated, you're clutching a vat of strong liquor, you've already consumed some drugs, and you're under a blanket in the corner of a dark room using us as an excuse to escape your relatives who are, at this point, either so right-wing and insane that they don't even like the postman anymore because his eyebrows are too dark and foreign-looking, or they're so lefty that they believe tic-tac-toe is a racially insensitive, homophobic, trans-bullying game of exclusion that was invented by Nazis to punish dyslexic vegan ducks. And to be fair, it probably was. So who joins us tonight and from where? Well, as we go round the table and introduce the guests, don't forget to pace yourself and slow your rubbing so that you don't get too excited and finish horribly into your moosehead cup of eggnog before I inevitably introduce Moe Porne. First up in the guest seat is a gentleman who 14 years ago discovered the cure for flatulence but kept it to himself, and a good thing too because farts are about the only thing we still share and can all still laugh at. Although I would like to ask him that if he could somehow make everyone else's farts smell more like my own, I would love that. I love the smell of my own farts. He is a man who can regrout a car, rewire a bathtub, fix the clutch on your TV, and furniture polish a good bush. He can whistle 38 of the world's national anthems, he writes a mean and sexually insensitive haiku, and can construct a ladder out of the bones of his enemies. And by bones, I mean boners. He's a friend to the animals, looks good in a pair of tight running shorts, and is a prolific and astounding author who's written 3 new novels in the time it took me to read this introduction. He's the one, but weirdly not the only, Andrew Buckley.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It was a lovely introduction.
You're very welcome, sir. And in the plumped-up love seat next to him, adorned with many cloths and furs, draped over his almost certainly naked and prone body, is a man for whom words barely retain their meaning anymore. Regrets he's had a few, like that time with Helena Bonham Carter on the teacup ride at a carny fair, being leered at by the worm boy and the man who shoves metal through his tits. He's done what he had to do and seen it through without exemption. Well, there was that one time with the Cadbury's Fruit and Nut Bar, the industrial strength pancake batter, and the sack of used cucumbers, where seeing it through just wasn't an option despite the smiles on the faces of those nuns. He's planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and by byway we're talking about those several times at college where he felt the unnerving beauty and exquisite fear of a pair of hairy balls on his lip, and more, much more than all of this. I'd say he did it his way, but I happen to know he's copied absolutely everything he's ever done, from a small hobo dwarf who used to live under the hood of a burnt-out Ford Esprit round the back of his old sex shop amongst copies of Turtlecock Monthly and Anal Rodent magazines. He now makes his dwelling in Florida, where he goes door to door showing everyone a mighty package, but that's because he's an Amazon delivery person and the package he's showing people is something they ordered. He saves showing his cock to people for church on Sunday. Yes, you guessed it, especially as he's here every fucking year. It's Moe Porne!
Hey!
And
every year.
Every goddamn year. And last, but certainly not least, as he could hurt me with one flick of his love truncheon, sat atop a throne of skulls that are all weirdly a little smaller than they should be, and with some flesh still clinging to its greyish-white domes, is a man for whom the feel of a rocket launcher is a normal Thursday, a man for whom swordplay is not just something he sporadically does in an abandoned bathroom off the Leicester Ring Road with an accountant named Simon, and someone who likes to reel off pithy quips while stroking the cold hard metal of an automatic weapon before blowing away the face of some unsuspecting perp down an alleyway in his head while performing filthy love to stop himself spoofing early and being laughed at by the judges. He's a man who has songs written about him, plays staged about his extensive time in Prague with a relative of George Lazenby owning a brothel disguised as a slightly nicer brothel, and once had a dirty limerick penned in his honour by a weird old man who was most famous for sitting on pigeons during a performance art piece at the Hayward Gallery. He's married, he's fathered children, and he owns a long-suffering dog who is the only one who will listen to his awful puns and has been feigning enjoyment while secretly plotting his escape. And all of them are strangely okay with him being a part-time doctor of action. It's the wonderfully frank and lover of explosions, Doc Paul Crowson.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I am fantastic. It is a truly unrivaled pleasure to have you all here again. And for listeners who have never heard a New Year's episode before and are already a little outraged and offended by this introduction, it really doesn't get any cleaner or better from here on in. So either deal with it or fuck off.
Exactly.
So let's look back briefly over 2019 and go around the room and give our feelings and opinions on the films of 2019, not the world events, because fuck, that would be depressing, but the films. So Andrew, why don't you start and talk to us all about some of your favourite films or some of the things you liked watching in 2019.
It's been I don't know, man. It's been such a busy year that I'm into the theater as much as I would like, so I've been oddly reclusive watching too many movies. I watched Knives Out on Friday night, and that was pretty decent. But other than that, nothing sticks out in my mind as being really good this year.
You've been too busy running and writing novels, I guess.
It's been a silly year, yeah. I honestly haven't made it very far.
And you've gone around, you've been doing speaking engagements as well.
Yeah, I was got to go to Vegas, which I've never been before. That was pretty fun. But yeah, been to a couple of conferences, been to a bunch of schools, prattling on to kids about, the art of storytelling and shit. It's been lovely. And
did what happened in Vegas stay in Vegas, or did you bring the disease back home with you?
Well, I'm still treating it, but the ointment's really helping, and the swelling's gone down.
Splendid. The swelling's what you really need to be worried about. But apart from that, everything should be fine. Doc, how about you?
Movie-wise, I've not really seen much, I'll be honest with you. I've just been mainly watching westerns, so...
Well, yeah, how about you tell us, 2 or 3 westerns you discovered in 2019 that you hadn't seen before, but that you think everyone should rush out and watch?
Oh,
Were there any that stuck out in particular for you?
New ones. Oh, for fuck's sake.
They don't have to be new ones. They could be old ones that you watched in 2019 that you hadn't seen previously.
There's a John Wayne called The Undefeated with Rock Hudson.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Yeah, it's worth a watch.
And I've rediscovered The Good, the Bad and the Ugly after seeing it a couple of years ago. It is perfect. Completely perfect. So after a good break from watching it, I can tell you right now it's a perfect film. There'll be no better film made than The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, so Hollywood may as well shut down.
Fair enough then. And
it's finished. It's
done. Draw a line under it. There's no point making...
I mean, honestly, it should shut down anyway, but, it's as good of a reason as any.
The only trouble is, Doc, is if it shut down after The Good, the Bad and the Ugly was made, none of the films we're talking about tonight would exist.
It's a good point. I take back what I said.
You were wrong, and you should feel very bad about it. How was your 2019 for movie-wise, Mo?
I mean, the highlights of my year, honestly, were Godzilla King of the Monsters, which I really enjoyed. My Name is Dolomite, or what is it? Dolomite is My Name, which I know is a Netflix thing, but I still fucking loved it.
It counts. There's no Spielbergs amongst us who are like, I don't like modern things. Mumble, grumble, bitch and moan. None of those Netflix movies count.
Yeah, there was a handful of like superhero films that I liked, and I know that you don't generally care for those, but I like them. So fuck you.
Listen, I have Spider-Man: Far From Home and Avengers: Endgame in my top 20 of the year. So
What?
Oh well,
19 and 20.
But yeah, nothing major. Honestly, the majority of my year has been taken up by, watching movies for no budget nightmares.
Right.
Really, and not that we are on like such a regular schedule that I'm constantly watching no budget films, but I don't watch a lot of movies anymore. I hate to say it. It's just been too chaotic and way too many things happening this year. So, I watch movies pretty regularly, but not like the way I used to. It's not like 2012 where I think I watched like 875 movies that year,
Well, tell us about 2012, Mo. Tell us some films you liked from 7 years ago. I suppose as we're rolling into the 20s, literally, we should talk about like the decade briefly. So all three of you think of that while I talk about briefly my favorite films of 2019. Obviously, anyone who follows me on Twitter knows that probably the film I've banged on most about was The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot, which, although it sounds like a crazy pulp novel kind of title, was actually a phenomenally good Sam Elliott film with a lot of emotion and politics and thought and a bunch of other stuff in it. It's sort of like a Bubba Hotep type, where you think on one hand it's just going to be this kind of B-movie genre film, but actually it has a ton of heart, soul, character to it, and Sam Elliott is just the fucking balls in that movie. It's so good. So good. Another one I watched at the New York Film Festival that still isn't out yet, although the director assures me it should be out in February or March of next year, is a film starring Elijah Wood called Come to Daddy, which was just a great movie. It's a bit like Red State in the sense that it starts one place. It starts where you think it's going to be this drama about a guy rediscovering his father, and finding out kind of some secrets about his dad and what happened between him and the mother and so on and so forth. And then kind of each 20 minutes, it reveals yet another darker, more ludicrous, more weird step that the whole kind of thing takes until it escalates into a place you never saw coming. It's just such a great movie. Elijah Wood's incredible in it. It's super funny, super dark, super horrific, and just had tons of fun with that film. So when Come to Daddy comes out in 2020, I urge everyone to go see it. Avengement, Jesse V. Johnson's movie starring Scott Adkins. I think it's probably their best work. Did you see that, Doc?
No, not yet. I've got it, but I've not watched it yet.
Dude, seriously, I mean, I have to say, it's like up there with their best work. It has serious like overtones of those early Ray Winston movies, stuff like Scum and things like that. It has a lot of prison drama, British prison drama stuff to it, but it also has some kind of lock, stock, smoking barrels, kind of Cockney gangster action and stuff. It's great. I mean, it's Scott Adkins and Jesse Johnson, I think, at the peak of their powers. And they're coming off an incredible year with stuff like Triple Threat and Avengement, and they've got another one out coming soon. And I even really liked the Debt Collector as well, which I saw, which is just, they're doing some great work together, and they really should get more praise and recognition than they're getting. So I do hope that either Jesse or Scott get a much bigger movie on a much bigger level so that they can kind of push their collaboration to the next step. Because since really Savage Dog, they've just kind of not really put too much of a foot wrong together. So I'm big fan of them working together. And then to round out, just a few indies that I really liked. I liked Paddleton, which was another Netflix movie that I really thought was great. Wild Rose, which was the Scottish kind of druggy, alcoholic dropout woman who has kids who can't kind of figure her life out, figures it out by becoming a singer, which is it's sort of a very typical kind of grim up north kind of movie that Britain likes to pump out. But this one, I just thought the lead performance was phenomenal, and I thought the songs were really great, and I just liked the way it was put together. Booksmart, which we covered on the podcast, but I thought that was a great movie, lots of fun, female directed, just awesome. Gwen, which was it was like a really great, like little indie British folk horror called Gwen, which was great. We happened to interview the director. And then just rounding that out, Tone Deaf. If you didn't see Tone Deaf with Robert Patrick, we interviewed the director on the show as well. But Tone Deaf was a lot of fun. It should have been this year's Mandy, because it certainly has kind of more going for it in terms of like plot and acting and character and stuff than Mandy did. But it probably just didn't have the Nick Cage kind of hype to it. But it should have done, because Tone Deaf was awesome, well worth watching. And if you want to see like my lists and stuff at the end of the year, I don't tend to put them on the website, but you can follow me on Letterboxd. I'm there under After Movie Diner on letterboxd.com, which is Letterboxd without the last E in it.com. Check out the After Movie Diner stuff on there. So in terms of the decade then, gents, Andrew, do you have any favorites that have cropped up in the last 9 years from 2010 onwards?
Well, I mean, you know me, I'm a slut for all the superhero stuff, and the last decade gave us like all of the freaking Marvel universe built from scratch. All the main stuff anyway, like all the Avengers, I think, came out.
Yes.
First one was 2012?
Yeah, I think has it been 12 years since Iron Man? Or 10 years since Iron Man?
I don't think Iron Man was I think it was previous to 2010.
Yeah, I think it was. And it was 2008, right?
Yeah,
around then, yeah. Same year as Dark Knight, wasn't it? 2008, I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, so it's been, I think, because by the time Endgame came out, I think it had been 12 years since the MCU. And I know, like, Hulk and stuff had MCU stuff in it, but I think Iron Man is kind of the first recognized one, right?
It's generally considered the first in the of the official MCU, yeah.
Yeah, what launched it all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we had all that. I mean, that was crazy. The fact that they built all that and they built it towards something as big as Infinity War. And then they resurrected Star Wars in this last decade, too.
Do you mean as long as Infinity War or as big as Infinity War? Because Infinity War was long. I mean, Endgame was long, but what I liked about Endgame, the reason why it made my top 20 of the year, is that Endgame was a nice send-off to the original 6 or whatever however many original Avengers there were. They gave each of them like their little moments, which I really enjoyed about it. That's why I preferred that movie. As a kind of ensemble, big, everyone fights everyone kind of thing, I'm less interested in that. But I loved the kind of individual stories they got to tell in Endgame.
Yeah, I mean, it's solid to combine all those stories together, to weave all that. I mean, it's got holes. I mean, the whole thing has holes. It's like 23.
Me too.
I think. Yeah,
Mo has several holes. Mo, put some of your holes off camera, please. Don't keep showing us.
Or put more of them on camera.
Yeah. That's creepy. That's creepy. Put more of them on camera.
Here's 3 of them for you now.
Yeah. Do you have a wider angle we can use? Or anything like that? Yeah, it's been... that's kind of been the highlight for me, as being a comic book geek. I'd love to see that come to life. It's been pretty great.
Nice. Doc, I know obviously in the last couple of years you've kind of more been looking back at retro films, especially Westerns and stuff, but are there any that kind of jump out at you from the last 10 years?
The Raid films, they were they were an absolute kick in the nutsack for the action movie fan. But not too much. Really, if I'm be honest, looking back, I mean, there's been some really entertaining films made in the last 10 years, and you do have to give a lot of praise to the Marvel for the way they've constructed a universe and kept it pretty consistent. I mean, the introduction films that they've done, while not being great, have been very entertaining. Some have been better than that. Guardians of the Galaxy was fucking brilliant, yeah. And that was a massive success story that's really took Marvel in a completely different new direction now. So the way they've sort of expanded the universe has been great, but it's just too bad that fucking Disney bought it.
No, I mean, they need that. This certainly when they were making a movie with multiple millionaires in it, you need Disney to at least be able to pay some salaries at that point. But no, I mean, I think for some reason people always get the idea that I'm kind of down on Marvel movies. I'm not at all. I actually I have watched and loved. I've watched all of them multiple times. That's the first thing. And secondly, I've loved probably 2/3 of them. There's really only a handful of them where I'm like, I wish they'd waited a couple of years to kind of, spread it out a little bit and take their time and, maybe do a second draft of the script. But like outside of that, I've actually really enjoyed what they've done and what they've built. And it's certainly something that can't be ignored. And it's certainly something that can't be kind of like outright condemned or hated either. I mean, I think if anyone is just completely and utterly against comic book films in their existence and in their entirety, I think you need to question like why you like movies, because there's so much stuff in them that, and it's why this whole like Scorsese Marvel debate is so fucking ridiculous. First of all, Scorsese said like an old grumpy man thing to say, they're not made for me and I don't get them and I don't consider them cinema. First of all, he's wrong. Like, that's just a wrong thing to say. But he can say it because he's Martin Scorsese and he's old and he's grumpy and it's whatever and it's fine. And it's absolutely fine that he says it, but he's wrong. And that's where the, like, discussion ends. Of course there's cinema. Of course they have, like, emotional depths. Of course they have character. Of course they're well written and well acted. Like, to say that they're not is kind of to be blind to it. And if in terms of their effect on the business and the whole idea of like Disney becoming this big unkillable monopoly and all the rest of it, that's down to, government and corporate bullshit. That's not down to like Marvel movies. That's down to the fact that they allowed Disney to get as big as they did without putting any restrictions on them. That's not the fault of comic book fans or the fault of Marvel movies. So
plus who's this Martin Scorsese guy anyway? What has he ever made?
Well, I have to say, like, as much as I love The Irishman, I did love The Irishman. And, for a movie in 2019 that got to see the return on screen of De Niro, Pesci, Al Pacino working with them all and Scorsese for the first time and even Harvey Keitel getting a cameo, that alone is phenomenal. But if you're going to talk about,
did he show his cock?
Keitel did sadly not show his cock, although Joe Pesci's CGI face looked a bit like a wrinkled cock. It looked a bit like a Muppet cock, is what it looked like. But no, I was watching that movie, and I think someone else pointed this out as well. But like, in terms of character arc and emotional depth, the character of the Irishman that Robert De Niro is literally a guy who starts his life as a hitman, ends his life as a hitman, does absolutely everything he's told to without ever questioning it, even when it comes down to killing a good friend of his. And it takes him 3.5 hours to fucking do it. So, like, you can talk about emotional depth and is it cinema and blah, 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 all you like. But I have to take the kind of stance as, listen, when you look at some of Scorsese's later films, and I watched The Departed yesterday, The Departed is a really good story and it's full of really good acting, but no one is emotionally deep in that movie particularly, and the same with The Irishman. So, I kind of feel like we watch those movies for one reason and we watch Marvel movies for another reason, and it's absolutely fine. Either reason is absolutely fine. To not call them cinema is ridiculous. Also, this idea that cinema shouldn't be about spectacle but should be about deep emotional bullshit is nonsense. Cinema is born out of spectacle. It's exactly what it was. Do you ever
see that train film? I mean, right. Come on.
No, but I know you're joking. But
I know I'm making jokes, but it's true.
That train film made people run from the cinema because they were so scared that the train was going to come through the screen and hit them. So it's always been about that. And this idea that it should all be black and white Latvian films about people who are in love with a hedge or something is just fucking bullshit. It can be whatever.
Now that's the film that I've the most enjoyed this year. You just reminded me.
The black and white Latvian hedge film.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's called as well.
Well, they don't have to come up with a winning title.
The longer the better.
That's actually the name. I've seen that porn.
Yeah, it's 6 hours and 20 minutes of black and white Latvians staring off into the distance.
Of black and white Latvians, or
they've got vitiligo.
Yeah. No, it's Latvians in black and white. No comment on their skin pigment or racial heritage.
Thank you.
But yeah, so that's how I feel about the Marvel. Any other takes on the whole Marvel Scorsese what is cinema debate, just so we can put that to bed once and for all?
Oh, I couldn't give a fuck. It's all nonsense, isn't it?
It is. I take the Ryan Reynolds approach when someone said about, please don't watch, I think it was Scorsese again getting into fucking trouble. Scorsese, just shut the fuck up. But I think someone said, I think it was Scorsese said, don't be watching The Irishman on like a phone. Try and watch it on like the biggest screen possible, and preferably go to the cinema and see it. Probably because he makes more money that way personally, but also because then he'll get awards. But don't watch it on the phone. And when Ryan Reynolds' new movie Underground 6, or The 6 Underground, or whatever it's called, came out, and Ryan Reynolds was interviewed about it, he was like, all due respect to Scorsese, but he's like, watch this movie wherever the fuck you want to watch this movie. It's like, watch it on a fucking Apple phone if you want. I don't care. Just watch the film. So I kind of take that. Like, a lot of the time when people start shouting about fucking streaming services or fucking Marvel versus other movies and blah, 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 I just have to go back to, like, people probably didn't like the radio when it first came out. You know what I mean? When the radio came out, people were like, people have stopped talking to each other and are sat around listening to the wireless. You know what I mean?
Listening to that magical box.
Kids these days, all they care about are audio dramas. I just don't know what's going on. They don't talk to their
Little
parents.
Orphan Annie is ruining this country.
You just know that there was a group of people that were like, I don't like the detective serials on radio. I think that they're
too violent.
Too violent, you know what I
Making
mean?
people kill each other.
Yes,
All
they are,
these
definitely.
kids do is watch Tipper McGee and Molly. Or listen to.
Listen to it. So all I've got to say to anyone who's a grumpy old man is, I'm also a grumpy old man. I can see your point, but at the same time, move out of the way and let the others come on through and enjoy shit any which way they want to enjoy shit. Because to be honest, a lot of the stuff Netflix did this year, I mean, the When They See Us was, I mean, hands down one of the best TV dramas I've ever seen, ever. And just phenomenal.
I had a hard time watching it. It was intense.
Yeah, no, completely. And what was crazy, like when I finished watching it, was not only how difficult it was to watch, and how intense it was to watch, and how obviously important and political and all the rest of it was. I actually felt that it was almost difficult to praise it simply as a work of creativity. Like, I wanted to praise the way it was directed, the way it was acting, the way it was lit, the way it was whatever. And that almost seemed to undermine its importance.
Right, exactly.
But I kind of wanted to praise it for both things, because I just thought it was a fucking... I mean, Ava DuVernay is just such a fucking exemplary director. And I hope she does a ton more stuff in the future. I really do. Because I've liked most of what she did. I did not see A Ripple in Time, or whatever that movie was, with Reese Witherspoon.
A Wrinkle in Time.
A Wrinkle in Time with Oprah Winfrey. And is Oprah Winfrey the wrinkle? Is that what she is?
Actually, there's a cameo from my scrotum, and that is the wrinkle.
And now we are passing in the time portal through Moe's scrotum. That's the wrinkle in time, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm so turned on right now.
I'm on the third season of that Netflix show, Brexit. It's got really shit at the minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the third year, he's introduced this new character, lead character. He's a right prick. Yeah.
They've introduced this blonde cunt who won't stop banging on about fucking Brexit. I couldn't.
Season 4 promises to be even better.
Yeah. Yeah, but I hear that it won't be showing on any Netflix channels in Europe, which is unfortunate.
No.
Womp womp.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. We're probably in for 4 more seasons of Dumb America come 2020. We'll wait and see, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get 4 more seasons of that as well. Anyway, let's tiptoe away from politics because again. I don't want to kill myself before the end of this episode, but I will if you push me with all this politics talk. So I don't know. The decade. What do I feel about the decade? I need to kind of look back over some of the films I've liked over the decade. It's one of the great things about having something like
the internet,
Letterboxd. I can go back as far as 2013. I can't go back as far as 2010. But in terms of Marvel movies, Iron Man 3 still comes out on top for me. I just think Iron Man 3 is just... It's such a great trick to pull to do a comic book movie that is entirely about humanity and not being a comic book hero. I really loved that. I loved The World's End, the third part of the Cornetto trilogy that Peg, Frost, and Wright did in 2013. I thought that was great. I liked, obviously, the return of Stallone and Schwarzenegger with stuff like The Expendables and Escape Plan and The Last Stand and movies like that. It was really nice to see those guys come back in the decade. Obviously, Statham produced some great stuff. Redemption especially was one of my favorites. I think more people should have seen that. Hummingbird, as it's called in the UK. But that's such a great movie that has such good Bob Hoskins kind of throwback feel to it, which I'm a big fan of, that people should check out. But any of the Stathams, you can't really go wrong. Can't go wrong with a good Stath.
Nope. Well, you are Gatham for Statham.
I am massively Gatham for Statham.
I tell you what's been a bloody good action franchise.
What's that, Chief?
This decade, the Mission Impossible.
Yes,
franchise.
I agree.
I think that's been consistently really good since Ghost Protocol.
Yeah, it has. I agree with that.
For me, it's the same thing with the Fast and the Furious movies. After what is it? I think starting with 5.
Yeah,
is where it starts to really get fun and good, and it's not so much about a bunch of idiots racing cars, and it's more about international espionage and weird shit like that.
Yeah.
Just because it just takes such a weird left turn, but it's so much fun,
Yeah, no, if you watch 5, 6, 7, and 8 back to back, it is kind of... It's one of the greatest tricks ever pulled that you take.
Absolutely.
They always point out that in the first movie they're jacking DVD players off the back of a truck. That's the plot of the first movie. And by the 8th movie, they're driving through the Arctic while a Russian submarine is launching missiles, and you're just all right, I don't know where this has to go into space. It has to go into space.
It needs to.
It is.
If they're not riding moon buggies through the on the rings of Saturn by number 10, then they've done something.
I could just
wrong.
imagine Vin Diesel turns to look at the Rock and be like, "We need to hotwire this Mars rover."
I'd like that if he's on Mars, literally on Mars, the planet Mars,
of course,
and it all gets tied together. The very last scene when Vin Diesel's phone mobile goes and he answers it and he goes, "All right, Dom, I'm interested in one of those DVD players." And that'd just bring it full circle.
That would be amazing if the last
That's
sentence...
something for Vin Diesel to think about.
Well, of course, the other thing I thought you were going to say is that if they're on Mars and at the very end, Don rolls over in bed to be next to a 3-titted prostitute from Total Recall. That's what I thought you were going to say.
I'd be down for that.
And meanwhile, it just pans out the window and Arnie is lying on the Mars thing with his eyes going all goggly and his face all bloaty and stuff like that.
And his cock in his hand.
The cock in his hand. I think it went a bit bumpy in 2016, 2017. I don't think that there were many things coming out those years.
I enjoyed Logan in 2017.
In 2016, I enjoyed The Nice Guys and I enjoyed The Trust. Which is the Nick Cage, Elijah Wood movie that everyone should go see. So good.
Very fun.
And there was a really warped documentary called Tickled, which everyone needs to see. It's totally fucking bizarre, that documentary.
Mad Max Fury Road.
That was 2015, right? Mad Max? Fury Road?
That was
Fury Road. I was going to mention that when I finally got my turn.
And fucking Creed, man. Fucking Creed was amazing. Yeah, sorry, Mo. Did I just
jumped right over me. It's okay, though.
It's all right, dude. I just assume you're going to pipe up and say whatever the fuck you want whenever you want to say it.
True.
So,
I mean, honestly, my list is super fucking quick anyway. It's mostly like Korean crime dramas, stuff like A Hard Day or
la-di-da, listen to Mo. Oh, I've watched some Korean films. Give the man a fucking hat.
Wow. Just because you can read. Fucking hell.
See, that's the problem is I don't know how to read, so I actually had to learn Korean.
just learn Korean phonetically, though. Just phonetically, yeah.
But like Train to Busan was great, and Snowpiercer. Yeah. And we lost Andrew.
Did we lose Andrew?
We lost Andrew.
Okay.
Not a fan of Korean cinema.
Andrew was like, if they're going to start talking about Koreans, I'm off.
I'm out of here.
I'll
realize he was so racist against Koreans.
Yeah. Let's see if he comes back on. If he doesn't, I'll call him back.
They killed his dog.
Killed his dog. He has a real John Wick thing for Koreans.
For Koreans. What other ones, Mo?
There's this movie called A Hard Day, and like
it's the story of my life.
I think I've seen this one.
It's the story of my cock, yeah. But for real though, it's like honestly like one of the best fucking movies I've ever seen. It's so fucking good.
For reals.
For reals.
For reals.
And then what do we got? Some like lower budget fare like Low Life was fucking fantastic. You had mentioned The Man Who Killed Hitler and then the Bigfoot. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, a lot of the stuff that's already been mentioned because you guys blather on so much.
We do blather.
But nobody had gone overseas to the Korean stuff yet, so I figured I'd at the very least mention that.
Yeah. I have to say that the Paddington films
were surprisingly good.
A genuine favorite of the decade for me.
I legitimately loved them. Yeah,
yes, I do. I thought they were really great.
Shitting me, really?
For reals, they're so good.
I saw the first one and I was like, I'm not watching another one of those.
Oh my god, Andrew! No, I love those. I would watch 100 of those. I thought they were really great.
Well, you're in luck because I bet they'll fucking make another 100.
I don't know actually, because sadly,
Paddington died at the end of the second one.
No, it's not that. But sadly, Weinstein was one of the producers on the first two movies, so they have to figure that.
Was it the Koreans that killed him?
Is Paddington suing him as well? Then
probably.
Yeah, you don't want to hear the story of Paddington.
Yeah,
that one's filthy.
Let's not make Weinstein comments. I'm sure that'll come up when we start talking about Revenge of the Nerds. What else? The Deadpool franchise started up. It was nice to see like Marvel getting a bit of adult humor in there. I thought the movie, one of my comedies of the decade was Game Night, weirdly enough. I know that...
I enjoyed it.
I loved it. And I know that like Bateman tends to pump out these fucking comedy films, and I always watch them and feel kind of underwhelmed. But Game Night, I just thought was awesome. It completely hit me from left field because I just thought, this isn't going to be very good. And it turned out to be super funny.
Did you not like Bad Words?
I did like Bad Words. Yes, I did. But I don't... Yeah, I would say Bad Words and Game Night, probably his best of the decade, like a lot of the other ones he's done.
Without a doubt.
Not.
I mean, they can't all be Hancock, but I mean, what is?
Right. I don't really mind Hancock. Hancock was fine.
It was okay.
I was thinking more about like that... What was that one he did about like Sitting Shiver with Tina Fey and Rose McGowan, her from Bridesmaids, who's just fucking in everything, even though she's awful. Rose Byrne. Fuck, why do they keep putting her in movies? She's like the most boring thing ever. Like, if I see Rose Byrne's name on a title sequence, I just pass out from sheer dullness of boredom. Rose Byrne's in this... My head just hits the fucking deck. I can't stand it.
You're going to be fucking gutted. I got you a Rose Byrne box set for Christmas.
No, you didn't, did you?
I thought you liked her, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he did a couple of others though. He did one with Melissa.
Oh,
McCarthy
that's This Is Where I Leave You.
Yes, and then he did one with Melissa McCarthy that was pretty awful as well.
Identity Thief.
Yeah. But no, Game Night, surprisingly good. Took me by surprise in 2018 when that came out.
Mo said about the man who killed Hitler, then the Bigfoot.
Yeah.
That is a really good film.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's as though they had a proper drama written. They couldn't get the budget, and at the end, when in the meeting, he could sense it was going a bit downhill, and he went, and he kills the Bigfoot at the end, and they went, okay, you got a budget.
Yeah.
Because all the way through...
Put more Bigfoot in it, I love Bigfoot! I don't know why the producers were northern, but I just like, put more Bigfoot in it.
Because Sam Elliott is actually from Yorkshire.
He is. Oh, he would be a great, he's a great Texan sounding guy, even though he's from California. But his family were Texan. But he would equally, if he was British, he would have to be from the north. There's no way Sam Elliott could be like, hello, what, pip, pip. Like, he would have to be, I'm fucking northern. Like, he'd have to be northern. There's no way he could be posh and southern.
No way. John Wick films, I forgot about them as well.
Oh, yes.
Of course.
Yeah, the first one's still the best, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Without a
doubt. The third one regained my...
well, it's because they added more dogs.
No, actually, that whole sequence with the dogs and Halle Berry was my least favorite sequence in part 3. But
was that because of Halle Berry?
No, it was just because of the...
absolutely not. What are you inferring?
The rampant computer game style nature of that entire sequence and the terrible CGI. My favorite sequence in part 3 is the opening 20 minutes. The opening 20 minutes are fucking brilliant.
Do you know how you know John's old?
Why?
Because he says computer games.
What should I say?
I don't know. Whatever. Say what you want, you old man.
Aren't you older than me, you piece of shit?
Yes, I am.
I don't mind being old. I wear it proudly.
It's a badge of honor.
It's a badge, yeah. I can say computer. What are these computer games the young whippersnappers are playing
These
today?
kids are their dang blasted computer games.
I can remember when all we had was a Game Boy. But yeah, so that's kind of our rundown of the decade. I don't know. Go watch some fucking movies. Don't come to us for this information.
Yeah, we're no fucking experts.
And as it is the end of a decade, we've decided to completely ignore that and go back to the 1980s.
A better time.
Yes. So in previous years, we've covered the works of Roger Moore, Andrew McCarthy, John Ritter, George Clooney before he was famous, and Gene Hackman before he called Wes Anderson a cunt and retired. We've talked movies we love that nobody else does, the Indiana Jones trilogy, and this year, for the 8th annual After Movie Diner New Year's special, we are talking a quadumbrant, which isn't a word, of 80s sex romps, a plethora of sex comedies, a cavalcade of un-PC wacky nudie babe movies, and an entire barrel load of Reagan-era titty flicks. Revenge of the Nerds, Splitz, Hamburger the Motion Picture, and The Last American Virgin. Each film lovingly picked, waxed, buffed to a high shine, and put on a rickety display in an old seedy, faintly brown video store that smells weirdly of cut hair by each of our hosts. So let's go around the table. What film shall we start with? Mo, do you have a vote?
I'm going to vote for my own, of course.
We could go chronologically, I suppose. Which let's
just you know what? Let's get the quote unquote hard one out of the way first, and just do a Revenge of the Nerds first.
All right, let's do Revenge of the Nerds first.
Star Wars, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, The Sound of Music. In the tradition of these great films about fighting back against the odds, 20th Century Fox presents another milestone in motion picture history. Revenge of the Nerds.
Nerds?
Nerds!
What is a nerd?
They've been laughed at. Picked on.
There's a roommate, pal!
and put down.
I'm not kissing a nerd.
They don't have the moves or the muscle.
You know karate? No. Good.
But they've got the brains.
I know what we're gonna do.
It's time for the odd to get even.
Their action tonight demands an immediate retaliation. How many cameras do we have left?
This should do it.
Oh, here she comes. Go up, go up. Oh, no. Oh!
That nerd saw me naked.
Are all nerds as good as you?
Revenge of the Nerds. Their time has come.
I drink to that.
And as Andrew was the, obviously the bigot, rape-loving person who picked this film, I'm joking.
Now, hang on a second. I had such fond memories of this bloody film when we started talking about this.
Yeah.
And then, as an afterthought,
And then you watched it again.
rewatch it.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, this is a horrible movie.
Oh,
See,
okay.
But that's the thing. It's not a horrible movie. It
It's
just
not-
features a couple of things that are utterly repugnant.
But
But
none of which would make it on the screen today. There's no chance. Well, I guess that's true for any of these movies, but that one in particular, I was quite shocked. by.
Andrew, that's true for about 95% of movie ideas that have come before 2018. They would no longer be made. But no, I mean, we can get into it. But Andrew, give us, as it is your movie that you picked, and we are blaming you. We're not blaming you. It's fine. I actually really enjoyed the movie. I was going to say something so dark then, but I'm not going to. You give us the plot, Andrew, and then we'll all talk about it. But you give us the plot rundown.
Okay, well, this wonderful little masterpiece of stereotypes and rape was basically based around the concept of a bunch of nerds, as back in the day when nerds were not.
In fairness, it would only be sexual assault, really.
I guess it would, because she did say she liked it after she found it.
Yeah. Not only does she like it, but she ends up with him happily.
Through the rest of the film series, too. Like, she's with him through the rest of the movie.
Although I feel a bit like a Republican senator by being like, well, it's not rape if they like it. Like, that sounds terrible.
I know. It's not a justification.
No, it's not a justification. But anyway, carry on, Andrew.
Oh, shit. I feel terrible for picking this movie now.
You shouldn't, dude. Like, you really shouldn't. Like, it's a fun, dumb movie. And while there are certain things in it you can't exactly justify, I will talk to why people need to ease up on this film, because I do have a thing. It's not a justification or an explanation, but it is a talking point that I think will be worth discussing. But just fill us in on the plot, and then we'll move on.
Well, it's simple as all hell. A bunch of nerds go to college and they get shit on by the jocks, and they decide that they're going to kind of fight back and
revenge.
Yeah, revenge of the nerds. It's right there in the title, and get back a little bit of self-respect and prove that nerds are cool, because this is really the era, or a couple of decades, really, when nerds were not considered to be cool. They were considered to be a bunch of losers. So,
right,
kind of interesting.
I was going to say it would be like that for the next decade and a half, really.
Easy. Yeah. And they end up, coming out on top and showing that everybody's a nerd at some level, and it was a weird way to kind of level the playing field between a lot of stereotypes.
And it proves that all you need to win any fight is a cadre of large black men.
That's it. That's all you need. I loved when they showed up at the end. It was great.
Yeah, Steve from Everything I Learned from the Movies podcast wrote to us on Twitter and said, as a huge fan of Revenge of the Nerds, which portion ages the worst? The Darth Vader rape scene, as we've talked about, the portrayal of homosexual characters, the video surveillance sequence, or something else from the film. Doc, just before we go into it, did you watch this one? Have you seen this one?
I think I watched it years ago.
Okay. So for people who don't know, there's a kind of a contest. The middle of the film, like most of these 80s sex romps, is a contest where the jocks have to go up against the nerds.
It's no Chinese downhill, but
it is no Chinese downhill from the movie Hot Dog the Movie, which I'm so happy to hear is getting a special edition Blu-ray in 2020. Because if any movie is screaming to be rediscovered and given a special Blu-ray 4K edition, it's fucking Hot Dog the Movie. But it gives me hope, Mo, because if they're releasing Hot Dog on Blu-ray, come on, Splitz, Hamburger, some of these movies are sure to follow, man. If they're started, like they've done all the horror ones, they've released all the Italian horror stuff. They're doing some of the little action stuff from 80s and 90s, and now they're moving into the sex romps. Man, we could be moving into a golden age of Blu-rays of these movies, or it could just be Hot Dog and no one could buy it and they'll never do it again. I don't know.
No original Star Wars yet.
No original Star Wars yet.
No uncut Star Wars.
Apparently, no uncut Star Wars. So the non-Jewish one, then, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So the Star Wars.
No Catholic Star Wars.
No, all Catholic Star Wars. If they're uncut, there can't be any Jewish.
Right.
Sorry, bad joke. Penises, foreskin.
I know what you meant.
I know what you meant. I'm there.
And also with you.
But yes, we could be moving into a gold age. The thing that I love about Hot Dog is that I'll get to see prime 80s Bush in high def. So I'm definitely buying that Blu-ray.
There is some serious fucking Bush in that movie.
Great Bush in that movie. So anyway, for people who don't know, in Revenge of the Nerds, there is a sequence where during the contest, there is a bit where the main jock's girlfriend is trying to take the jock away to have some naughty business. And both the jock and the lead nerd, played by Robert Carradine, are both wearing capes. And the jock is wearing like a Darth Vader mask, and Robert Carradine is dressed up as like a magician, but they've both got like these black capes on. The jock refuses to go away and have naughty business with the woman. So Robert Carradine steals his Vader mask, goes into a hall of mirrors. It's not implied that they make love. It's implied that they have oral sex, is what is implied in the movie.
That he goes down on it.
That he goes down on it, right. Yeah. With his mask still on, which seems impossible. And
it was the 80s. It was a different time.
It was a different time where masks had more oral access. But and then afterwards, it's revealed that it's him and not her boyfriend. And she seems remarkably happy about this. And then there is the immortal line, all jocks think about is sport, all nerds think about is sex all the time, which is why we're better at sex, is what he says to her. And then from that moment on in the movie, she seems perfectly happy that happened, and they get together, and then they're together at the end of the movie, and da-da-da-da-da, and it ends, right?
So it's a love story.
And it's a love story. And
it rings a bell.
It's completely, what?
It rings a bell. I think I've seen it. I think I have seen it.
Doc's like, I remember that sequence.
Oh, I thought you were just saying that's how you met your wife.
No. I was wearing a Wookiee mask.
But so listen, obviously, it's utterly reprehensible. Obviously, we do not condone any of the behavior in the film, etc., etc. But I would say this. That shouldn't have to be said any more than when I watch Die Hard, I should have to constantly explain that I'm against killing people, or that I'm against the use of weaponry, or I'm against guns in general. It shouldn't be said that, this comedy in particular, and I want to talk only to Revenge of the Nerds right now, but the whole movie is set up not to laugh at the nerds, although they certainly do some silly things. And before people are like, is he comparing like action movies to sex comedies where things happen? Let me explain what I mean. The whole movie is set up to go along with the nerds and attack and laugh at the bullies. That's the whole thing is set up that way. And the whole, like the nerds represent, like what is shown in the movie, the nerds represent all the kind of like dark, weird, boyish, childish, sexist thoughts that people have, whether we like to admit it or not, whether it should be talked about or not, whether it should be exposed or not. Like, all boys at some point, if they're growing up in like a heterosexual situation, have horrible thoughts. And I'm not talking about thoughts about like rape or anything like that, but just in general, when it comes to women, they do have thoughts about their naked bodies, about the way they look, about what they want to do to them, especially if they're nerds and they can't get to them or whatever it is. They all have thoughts like that, right? And
not me. I'm a perfect angel.
I'm just saying.
Speak for your fucking self.
No, come on. I'm not. Again, I'm not saying we have thoughts about rape. I'm saying that you have thoughts about objectification, right? Whether you act on it or not, and most people do not act on it. 90% of guys do not act on it, and I'm not condoning acting on it any more than I'm watching an action movie and I'm going to go out and kill someone. That doesn't make any sense either. But very often movies are cathartic, and very often movies are there so that we can either laugh at ourselves or talk about ourselves or see the worst side of humanity without having to live it ourselves. And again, not a justification, not a reason. The scene doesn't add anything to the film. The scene is not funny. The scene shouldn't be in the film. It's not condoning that scene. But in general, if you condemn Revenge of the Nerds and then by extension 80s sex comedies, if you're someone who's like, well, they're really un-PC and they have no place in modern society and, they're terrible and they're not funny and they objectify women and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think what we're missing from those movies is a place where we can, first of all, laugh at each other. Because weirdly, those movies, as un-PC as they can get, and there's a sequence, especially in Hamburger, the movie, that it's just, again, utterly reprehensibly racist and shouldn't be in the film.
How dare you?
But as like un-PC as they can get, without those movies, without that avenue to like laugh about stuff or point stuff out or do whatever, that stuff stays hidden to some extent, or that stuff becomes more vocalized in private groups, whether that's private racist groups or private sexist groups or private whatever. If you have it on movies where you can kind of laugh at each other, and this is to the point of like on the Twitter where the guy says, about is the scene where the representation of homosexual characters, for example, like the homosexual character is a hero in the movie. I mean, yes, all right, he might be a flamboyant and exaggerated cliche of a homosexual person, but like the nerds are literally a multiracial, multi-gendered, sexual orientation group that ultimately the ending of the movie embraces all that. Now, I'm talking very, very seriously about a movie that doesn't deserve to be talked about seriously. But I'm just saying that quickly condemning something like this is to misunderstand that sometimes stuff has to be created that is all of the bad things in life, or is un-PC, or is near the knuckle, or does show like cliches or laugh at certain things, like the Asian character in this is awful as well, and various other things. But like, there was a time where we could all kind of laugh at that, and it doesn't mean that it was a more inclusive time, but it was a time where like people were getting those like bad thoughts out of their head in public without having to kind of without having to like squash it down, only for it to explode in a barrage of beige panted wearing Southerners carrying tiki torches for Trump. Like I know that I'm trying to get at something that isn't, and I'm not trying to justify something, and I'm not trying to say that. I just think that there's enough in Revenge of the Nerds that is funny, that is weird, that is inclusive, that is silly, that is fun to watch, that to kind of overly condemn it for some things which now we decided we're not going to put in film kind of misses the point, is all I think I'm trying to say.
Here's my
Does
thing
any of that make sense, or am I just being awful?
That sounds like the excuse you gave Kim while you bought the Blu-ray.
Kim likes these, but Kim watched Hamburger and really enjoyed it. Anyway, carry on.
See, here's sort of my opinion on like the whole like sex romps as a genre is that for the majority of them, they are prepubescent wet dreams. Yes. You know, there's like when they were writing whenever they're writing any of these movies, not just Revenge of the Nerds, really any of them, the biggest question that comes to mind is how do we get tits and ass and bush on screen?
Which should be the question every time someone sits down to write a film.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Disney didn't want to hear it when I went.
And so in this particular case, they said, okay, well, we're going to have them go in and put video cameras into the girls' dormitory so that they can watch them get changed and yada yada. It's no real different than like here's the thing, you don't see people rallying against Animal House because Bluto's a peeping Tom, you know.
There's a sequence where Tom Hulse is literally confronted with a passed out woman and his devil on his shoulder and his angel on his shoulder literally have a debate about whether they should do anything with her or not, which I understand he doesn't go through with it, but that is a way to put a scene in a film where you can have those thoughts without actually having to act it out. You know what I mean? Like anyway.
Right.
Not that I have those thoughts, and I'm not. It's not about personal. It's about the fact that these movies are made in a certain time, but also with a certain sense of humor, and thirdly with a certain audience in mind. And my feeling just is, if you're not producing stuff for that audience to some extent, where does that like end up? Where is that catharsis of, sexual awakening or catharsis of, whatever? Does it have to be like a hidden Pornhub thing where actually they're watching hardcore porn rather than watching the very sly titillation of an 80s sex comedy?
Right. Anyway, it's about a bunch of nerds who get revenge on the jocks. 4 out of 5.
No, listen, anyone, this is the line I constantly try and straddle. Anyone who knows me, either individually as a friend, online, whatever it is, will hopefully see me as someone who is, all-inclusive, a feminist, an ally to the LGBTQ community, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm very liberal in my politics. I'm very socially liberal, and I'm definitely we are all humans going through the difficult thing of existence, and existence is shitty and bumpy and crappy and awful for everybody. It is messy and awful for everybody. And if you start excluding people, or if you start oppressing people or removing people from society or downplaying people's input to society, then that way stupidity and bigotry and idiocy lies. That's the 100% honestly where I come from. But I also...
I thought you came from England.
I do. Yeah, which is not showing itself to be particularly liberal or forward at the moment at all. But the other line that I straddle is that as someone who loves comedy and loves humor and has a sense of humor, I don't think anything is off limits when it comes to making jokes about stuff. And I know it gets really difficult for people, but the more human beings can laugh at each other and the more that we can take the piss out of each other, and I'm sorry, but human beings are predominantly stupid, and most of the things that we take the piss out of each other for are the cliched things. They just are. They're just the things that we all laugh at each other. There's no such thing as an inclusive joke. All jokes are exclusive of somebody or something or some trait or some cliche. So I just think it's a very slippery slope to start saying we can't do this and we can't do that and we shouldn't say that and we shouldn't do this and da 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 da. It's a difficult line to walk, and it's one that a lot of people don't understand. And I've literally had liberal friends of mine say, no, you can tell an inclusive joke, and I'm like, okay, then tell me an inclusive joke, and they can't think of one, but they literally don't think that a sense of humor is as important as humanity as a whole. And I'm like, but without a sense of humor, there isn't humanity as a whole, because you can't get through this life without laughing at stuff.
It's essential.
Yeah. So without, again, getting too deep and weird and silly about it, I'm not condoning any of the actions of any of the things in the movie, but it is just a movie. And I don't condone gun ownership or violence either, but I fucking love action movies, and the more heads they chop off, the happier I am. So that's where I come at it from. Andrew, how do you feel? You've been a bit quiet on the whole subject.
Well, I just feel bad that I picked this movie. I mean, the fucking word on IMDb is rape by deception.
That was the title in where?
No. Doc's like, what's that movie? Rape by Deception? How do I see that movie?
I think you said that was like the under title of it. I thought, fucking hell. The marketing went shit on that.
Rape by deception.
I was like, spoilers.
Yeah, no, listen, again, there are some people listening to this podcast now that, despite everything I've said and everything Mo said and whatever, are utterly offended that we just laughed at you saying rape by deception. But we laughed at it because it's so horrific. We laughed at it because it's so extreme. We laughed at it because it's such a horrible thing to say that it is funny. If you don't laugh at it, then you'll just spend the rest of your life being utterly distraught that happens in reality. But that's not the point of Revenge of the Nerds. Revenge of the Nerds is a stupid, dumb comedy, and to lump it in with what actually happens in reality is idiotic.
Well, it's a bit of a testament to the change in culture or cultural awareness that back when we all probably watched this in the 80s, this never stood out as being, oh my God, that's horrible. It's like, haha, this movie's funny. But now you go back and look at it, it's like, oh my God, it's horrible.
Right, but as recently as when the DVDs came out, they literally released the Panty Raid edition as like a special edition DVD. And that's in the last, 5-10 years, Mo?
Yeah, you're right.
Probably.
So, this was still, it's literally in the last 2 years that this movie has even come up in conversation, I feel like.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Sorry, Doc, you were about to say.
It's funny.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not as though it only became offensive 2 years ago. It was offensive back then. I mean, it's just that when people say it was a different time, it was a different time. It's, it is what it is. It is what it is. And there's no excuse for that sort of for other films. It's just how they were. They don't get made now.
I still say you can put stuff on film that you wouldn't do in real life.
Well, that's humour. That's humour. If you lose your sense of humour, we lose.
Yeah,
that's it. We just lose. So
Can we talk about how great Booger is in this movie? Can we actually talk about the good things in this film? Did anyone like Curtis Armstrong's Booger character? Because for me, I just think he's brilliant.
He's, I think for me, the two best things in the film are Booger and Ogre.
Yes.
Without a doubt. They're just as stereotyped as anything else, but they're first off, Donald Gibson as fucking Ogre is amazing.
Andrew fucked off again.
He fucked off. He's like, how dare you talk about ogres like that? But yeah, no, you're right. Booger, he's the stereotypical fucking slovenly, sloppy, doesn't take care of himself, not really basement dweller, because he's a little more hip than that, but you know what I mean. He's like
almost
that,
too hip to be a geek or a nerd. I always find he's not I know what they're trying to do, but he's almost too hip to be considered. He's not a glasses wearing, pens in the pocket, accordion playing kind of nerd. He seems more like the kind of cool, maybe kind of video watching, porn film watching, smoking kind of. He's kind of like the nerd I was. I didn't pick my nose and burp quite as much as he did, but
I did. Still do.
But
that's the thing. He's essentially supposed to be the pervert, druggy, lives in his mom's basement type of guy. That's where he lies. He's more of a dweeb, but again, like you said, he's too cool for that. But you have to remember that back then, that wasn't like he wasn't considered cool by like any stretch of the imagination. Like it's because we're looking at it with modern eyes that we're saying, oh, that guy he's pretty hip, you know, but he was basically like that shifty dude who would hang out in front of the 7-Eleven and, you know, and sell your kids drugs.
I aspire to be that shifty dude.
Yeah, that's how I was in high school.
Yeah,
that's how I was in kindergarten.
Andrew, was there anything you liked about the movie?
Well, yeah, because I still remember this movie pretty damn fondly because I was that like nerdy little chubby kid in school, so I related to this whole thing. I liked it. I liked that the nerds fought back against the jocks and shit. And I thought that I don't know, the comedy in it is still funny to me. Even when I rewatched it, I was like,
you really don't need to apologize.
I'm not apologizing, Paul. Shut up.
I mean, well, you don't need to apologize for that.
Yeah.
I totally understand. No, I still kind of weirdly holds up outside of the other crap we mentioned, it still kind of works as a nice little revenge flick and playing off stereotypes, which are still played on super heavily today in movies and comedies, just in obviously different ways. And
I also think that this whole thing about like, well, we're better now and we don't do this and da 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 da, but we do still have reality TV shows that are primarily set up so that they can put cameras on people fucking, like real people, like whether it's Big Brother, where they're like, oh, the second season we started putting in double beds or whatever, and then by the third season we put in a hot tub, because it's like the more fucking cameras we can get on people potentially having sex, the happier we are, you know. And now
they don't show it.
Yeah, but then now decades later we have fucking Survivor Naked in Paradise, whatever it is, where everyone just goes off naked to an island somewhere, and it's like literally producers sat around in Hollywood being like, how many reality TV shows do we have to create before we get someone boning on camera? And like that to me is far more insidious and dark and weird and detrimental and bullshit and fake and awful than making some stupid high school comedy.
But it's cheap.
It is. But, you know, I mean, look at The Bachelor. The Bachelor condones this idea that literally you could put, whatever it is, 30 women in a room and one guy, and they could go through them like a fucking deck of cards. It's offensive. It's insulting. I find that far worse. It's at least for all its shit that this movie ends with a message of inclusion, for all its shittiness. And I'm not holding this up as fucking, an important diatribe for humanity, but like to completely dismiss it as well is not correct.
There are moments that I think in Revenge of the Nerds that are just amazing. Like, I think one of the great moments is when they're throwing the party and everything's kind of going to shit. And, the nerd girl, who I can't remember any of their fucking names because my brain is broken, but the nerd girl who's dating the nerd guy, she says, well, I can, get my sorority sisters to come over. And it was sort of like this weird sexual awakening for like all of these guys who had like never had this kind of like, contact with women before, I mean, even fucking Poindexter gets some, and like
Poindexter deserves some.
Well, he really does, man. Like Timothy Bottoms does such a great fucking job as Poindexter in that movie.
His
but I like the
violin playing alone deserved to get some.
Yeah, like I love the fact that like every time he'd get like a boner, he'd scream. He'd like look at his crotch. Like, ah!
Well, even the sequence where they're so-called like spying on the girls in the sorority, what I like about that sequence is it ends with people coming down the next morning being like, what do you mean you're still watching this? Like, it was boring after 20 minutes. Like, and that's what I like. Like, it kind of says, guys are going to try and look at naked girls, right? Guys are just going to try and do that at a certain age or at a certain point. But what you have to realize is at a certain point, what those naked girls are doing are just brushing their hair or walking around the room. And at a certain point, it shouldn't be, titillating anymore. It's just humanity,
right.
To some extent. Not that I think that's what the point it's making. I'm just extrapolating.
But I mean, there's so much stuff that I love in this movie. Really, like I love the fact that because that they can obviously, like, as far like, and they realize as far as physical stuff is concerned, they know they're not going to win, so instead they opt to embarrass them. Like, they're doing the tug of war, and they just let go. They're like, you win. It's fucking hilarious. What's the other one? Like, they get the chemical, the pill or whatever it is to counteract all the alcohol in the system, so that Takashi can win the little tricycle race,
Right.
Or they craft the really ridiculous javelin,
the wobbly javelin,
the wobbly javelin for Lamar, so that he can throw it farther because of his limp wrist style,
but again, like, to some extent, because the guy on Twitter, like I said, he said about representation of homosexuality. Like, nobody in the movie attacks Lamar.
Not
on the nerd side, right?
I don't even think they necessarily even attack him as such from the jock side either. Like, you would have think that would have been like the first thing that the jocks would have been like on and about, but no, they hated him because he was a nerd, not because he was a gay nerd.
Right.
And there's only one real comment in the entire film that even really, it's so obvious that he's gay that, like, but nobody thinks twice about it, really. They're just like, that's Lamar, and the only time it's ever really commented on is they're talking about having dates for the party, and Lamar goes, well, I have a date, and Booger looks up at him and goes, yeah, but that's with a guy. And that's, like, literally the only time it's ever really brought up in the film.
Right.
Like, directly addressed. And even then, it's like, he's not attacking him. He's just saying that.
Whereas the representation of Takashi is probably a lot more.
A lot.
Offensive.
Yeah. Even during that, like, little race scene I was talking about before, where they're having, like, the Japanese style version of Daisy. And it's cute, but it's woof. It's a little rough.
Of course, he does get to, Brian Toshi, who plays Takashi, does get to go into the Police Academy franchise and get together with Leslie Easterman in Police Academy 3.
Did you know that this was the most embarrassing thing in Robert Carradine's career until his brother died wanking in a closet? Feel free to cut that one if that's too...
No, I'm keeping that in. That's brilliant. I just can't believe, though, what blows my mind a little bit about this movie is it took 6 people to write it. 4 people to write it, and 2 people to do the screenplay, and 4 people
to jerk off in the corner.
4 people to come up with it.
Well, apparently the script was so light that they didn't actually have much to work with. There was no real story, and a lot of stuff was improvised, including the speeches at the end was pretty much by the actors.
I'm a nerd.
So, Andrew, did you feel anything? So you said it still holds up for you. There was still some laughs in it and stuff. You could still enjoy it.
Yeah, it still resonates enough with me that I like this movie. I'll stick with it. And after watching the 3 that you guys suddenly picked, then I do like this one. Yes, I do.
Oh, wow, really?
I like this movie.
Wow.
Come on. Splitz and Hamburger are way better than this.
Dude, we'll talk about it.
Wow. All right. And of course, we were talking about Marvel earlier, and Revenge of the Nerds does have Captain America in it.
It does, weirdly enough. That's right.
It does. But not the Captain America everyone thinks about. It's our Captain America, Matt Salinger, the one we grew up with. The original Captain America. The shit one.
With the fake ears.
The shit one.
The shit one.
But yeah, I don't really have anything to say. I think it's a perfectly harmless 80s comedy. Lots to enjoy there. I'm not advocating for censoring, but if they removed that one scene and replaced it with a scene where he went over to her and said, "I'm really sorry, your boyfriend's an ass, I'll look after you," and she was like, okay, and they fell in love that way, fine. Put that scene in instead of the oral sex scene, and then the rest of the movie is fine. In terms of the panty raid thing, I mean, I get it. Like, women should not be filmed against their own consent, blah, 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 blah. But, it's a movie and it's a cliche of the genre that whether it's looking through the hole of the bathroom wall in Porky's or in Last American Virgin, or whether it's filming them and looking at them, it just is what it is. Or whether it's Pluto looking through the window at the beginning of Animal House.
Like honestly, I have in my film collection alone, like in my VHS collection, I probably have at least 150 movies that the entire plot line is predicated on guys walking around and looking in people's windows in the hopes of seeing naked women. So, I mean,
and look how Moe turned out.
Yeah.
It's called his Ring Doorbell.
Well, I mean, one of the movies is called Keyholes Are for Peeping.
I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. We had some comments, like I said, online about it. And I think, did anyone ask us on Facebook about it? I know we did get a question on Twitter, but on Facebook, what did we get? I think someone mentioned it.
Yeah.
They mentioned that they found it in like a toonie bin or something like that. And that was a great deal.
Well, Craig Everett Earl said, I'm ashamed to say I've only seen Revenge of the Nerds, but glad you reminded me. We'll definitely check out the other three now and tune in. Questions? You got it. Were you ever a nerd? So, were any of you guys ever a nerd?
Yes.
Yes.
Still am.
Yeah.
You'll never know the pain at school
never.
playtime when the kid said, what do you want to play? And I said, Star Trek, and I'll be Captain Kirk. And every other kid went, what the fuck's Star Trek?
Yeah. Nerd.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you think nerd culture has changed with comic book movies and such movies suddenly being the cool thing?
I'm not allowed to be Captain Kirk anymore.
Everyone else wants to be Captain Kirk. You have to be the red shirt who gets shot. Because even within nerd culture, like every fucking subculture, they've broken off into like even smaller groups now. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So you can be a nerd within a nerd kind of thing.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Like you could be a Star Trek nerd, but then it's like, well, are you original series or are you Next Generation or are you Deep Space Nine?
Yeah. No one's Deep Space Nine.
No one's Deep Space Nine.
There's someone.
I know for a fact there is.
Probably lives in a cave.
I know a couple of those Deep Space Nine guys. What's even weirder to me is when you get the Voyager ones. Like, really? I mean, don't get me wrong. I liked Captain Janeway, but I mean,
no. Listen. The really, really weird ones, and we know this, are the Enterprise Scott Bakula ones. They're the really weird ones.
Yeah, and I know a couple of them too. It is really odd.
But that is because, as my friend Doug Fry likes to say,
Scott Bakula.
Yeah, as my friend Doug Fry likes to say, because once you go Bakula, you never go Bakula. And I mean,
you would have thought he'd quantum leap back into Scott Bakula and go, I want to do Enterprise if I was you.
Yeah, right.
It only lasts 2 series. Was it 3? Was it 3?
I don't know. You're the nerd.
you're the Star Trek nerd.
Andrew, would you consider yourself still a nerd?
Yeah, but it was more of a thing that I didn't want to be when I was younger because it was so unpopular. And then when it became popular, I'd already kind of turned far away from it. But then I came back pretty quick once it became popular.
Yeah, he's a published nerd.
Yeah, I am a published nerd. Yeah, he is an author. Check out Andrew Buckley's books on Amazon or whatever preferable service that you want to use to buy them. But you should all buy them. My feeling is the whole nerd culture thing. All cultures are all cultures, meaning that, like I say, even within nerd culture, there are divisions where you're not cool enough to be this guy or not good enough to be this guy, and people get segregated within nerd cultures off to different groups and different things. And I'm not a Dungeons and Dragons nerd. People will hear you say like, I like Marvel movies, but I'm not one of those gamer guys or whatever. These assholes exist throughout humanity. I try not to identify as anything I certainly like a lot of nerdy shit. I certainly like a lot of geeky shit, and I own it. I own it. I've always owned it. I've never not been able to like the shit I like. I could never pretend to like the stuff other people like just to fit in with them. I just don't have that mechanism in me. I don't know how to do it. And it's gone from sometimes it being popular to sometimes it not being popular. And the weird thing is no matter what opinion I vocalize, people will always just accuse me of being a knee-jerk, opinion-having idiot. You're not a knee jerk. You're just a jerk. Right. Like even now on the internet, you'll see people all the time being like, well, of course John hates it. It's a remake. And I'm like, well, all right. You could actually read the nuance.
Of course John didn't like it. He watched it.
Yeah, right. You could read the nuanced example that I tried to give of why I didn't like it. And then you could also understand that when I say I didn't like something, it's just me not liking something. That's it. But sadly, people will jump on people no matter what. So I try not to be part of any culture. I've gone to Comic Cons and conventions for stuff that I like. And seen all sorts of different groups of people who are into all sorts of different things. And the only thing I feel about it is that the more open anyone is with it, the better. I have one of Kim's cousins is really into horror films and really into like makeup effects and really into kind of building his own like haunted houses and doing different stuff like that. And even in school in 2018 was being told by like the guidance counselor and by other kids that he was weird, that he should probably think more about the Bible and not about horror movies, and et cetera, et cetera. Even today was still being told that. And what I found taking him to a horror convention and showing him some horror movies and showing him like the stuff that I was into is that acceptance has only made him more confident when he goes to horror conventions and sees other regular, normal people enjoying that culture. That just makes him feel better. So my feeling is if you're into something, put it on Front Street. Let everyone accept it or not, but when you find your group, hang with your group because that'll make you feel better, and that's where I come at it from.
Indeed.
All right, so the rest of
unless you're into Riverdance,
keep
your fucking opinion to yourself.
Yes, no. If you're into Riverdance or reality TV, get fucked. So the rest of his questions were about Hamburger, so we'll get onto that when we go on to the next movie. Chris Powell said, Revenge of the Nerds and The Last American Virgin represent different spectrums in terms of tone and how they end. Watched Revenge of the Nerds and its sequel multiple times over and still enjoy it despite knowing it wouldn't fly in today's world. Last American Virgin represented a very realistic portrayal of how things can go, especially the ending, and that was definitely a gut check for the main character. But I don't think we had any other Revenge of the Nerd comments.
Let's do let's go on to Last American Virgin since you just talked about that one.
Great. Okay, so let me just go ahead.
Let's get super fucking depressing.
Yeah, and then we can end with the fun films.
We can end with the fun films.
Oh, you didn't find this one fun?
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot about Last American Virgin that I think is incredibly fun. But like the main character, like it hits home big time for me because I would be the guy who'd be like pining over a girl who's only interested in my best friend, and he'd end up getting her knocked up and like I'd help her out and then like she'd go right back to him. Like that sounds so much like something that might have happened in my life. Especially at that age where like I was definitely not like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I've always been liked, but I've never been like that guy. Like no people wouldn't like, I wouldn't be the guy who you'd walk into the room and be like, oh, it's that guy. Yeah. No. That never fucking happened.
Hey, Mo, I felt that when I first saw you.
Yeah, I'm looking at you right now. I've got a fucking stonking arm.
But see, but that's the way it always is. It's always my guy friends who are into me like that. Anyway.
Yeah, you should just give it up and be a bear, dude. Just be a bear. Just get it over and done with.
Yeah. I mean, you're probably right, but
he's blushing now.
Yes. But it's still a fun movie. There's still a lot of like hijinks and a lot of, silliness,
Oh, wait. I have quiz questions like I do every year. I have quiz questions for each of these movies.
Oh, well, let's
Sorry, because I
quiz.
didn't expect this because I was still looking for the comment that I know I got on our... so wait a minute. Sorry, let's go back. Pablo Lara said on the After Movie Diner Facebook page, it's been ages since I've seen Nerds, but the Darth Vader mask or all sex scene, which we've gone into, is just way too high on the creepometer. And the line he says afterwards is way too perverted of a line to be taken as a clever way to get a smitten girl. A lot of sex romps over the decades have aged poorly, but I guess it's also down to what is defined as acceptable sexual activity by the public. I don't think any of this was ever acceptable sexual activity by the public.
Exactly.
I think the whole point of it is this: it's meant to represent hijinks, and that it is misguided hijinks, but it is simply just to represent hijinks. It's more what was acceptable to put on film and laugh at. That's what's changed.
Indeed.
But and then we have our painted New Year's Eve movie quiz. Cue theme music. Revenge of the Nerds question. I've got a question for each of these movies. Star of Revenge of the Nerds, Robert Carradine, is the son of John Carradine, younger half-brother of David Carradine, Bruce Carradine, and Michael Bowen, younger brother of Keith Carradine and Chris Carradine, and uncle of actresses Martha Plimpton and Kansas Carradine. Name the film that stars Kansas Carradine. Is it 1. Rapid Eye Movement, 2. Homo erectus, 3. Nate... 3. Nate and the Colonel, and 4. Baja Beach Bums. Doc, what do you think it is?
I take it back. The most embarrassing thing on Robert Carradine's CV is not his brother. It's this the last one.
Baja Beach Bums. Yeah. All right, Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with Paul. I think it's the last one.
And Moe.
It better be Homo erectus.
Well, it's actually a trick question, as they're all films featuring Kansas Carradine. That's Lord. Completely true. You all win nothing, but you all have the innate smug satisfaction one gets from merely taking part. And maybe you'll get a parking lot hand shandy from a greengrocer named Alan who just can't help himself. But remember, it's not compulsory. All right.
We won, didn't we?
Yeah, you won in your own way. So now let's move on to Last American Virgin. This was Doc's pick from 1982, starring Diane Franklin as Karen and Lawrence Monason as Calais.
And now let's all get serious. Hey, you pervert! Get out of my... Come on, move! Dance all night, play all day. 1, 2, 3. Don't let nothing get in the way. Dance all night. Hi. Don't you worry about you. Let me shake it up. Shake it up. 96, 97, 98, 99.
Now you two have fun.
When a good night turns around, you must move it. You will never live it
Last American Virgin, featuring songs by Blondie, The Cars, Devo, Journey, The Police, REO Speedwagon, Tommy Two-Tone, and more. The Last American Virgin. See it or be it.
Yeah. Shake it up.
So, Doc, why don't you give us a quick rundown of what plot there is?
It's never really defined when this film is set, I feel, because it's kind of got a 50s setting with 80s music.
Well, there's an explanation for that. It is the American remake of a movie made in
Lemon
Israel,
Popsicle.
Lemon Popsicle, which is set in the 50s. This movie is actually set in the 80s, but they give it this weird 50s aesthetic with like the juke joint and the burger place and the big 50s car and whatever, but it's meant to be set in the 80s.
Right, okay. That's fucking weird.
It is
anyway,
weird. Doesn't that make the movie even weirder? And
It does. It kind of, yeah, I don't get it. Anyway.
No.
So Gary and his chums are all about getting the pussy. And it...
That's the PC modern correct term for it.
Yes. And Gary's mate, what's his mate's called?
Gary's mate is called Rick.
Yeah.
Rick.
Well, Gary falls in love with Diane. And his mate, Rick, gets up the duff. Gary tries to help her out, falls in love with her, and she goes back to Rick at the end.
Spoilers.
Well, the spoilers, yeah. I mean, if you know. But what I like is, it starts off as a sex comedy. Halfway through, you're thinking, what's going on? And by the end, you realise that what you've actually watched is a heartbreaking fucking movie. And that's life, isn't it? It's all fun to start with. Yeah, so that's why I picked it.
All right.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Andrew, did you watch this movie?
You know what? Sadly, I did end up watching all these movies.
Why sadly? Come on now.
This one, I started. This was the last one that I scanned through, and I'm like, I kept scanning back again. I'm like, where the hell is the fucking comedy in this movie? Because it's really depressing and sad.
Oh, it's super depressing.
Yeah. No, the comedy is that he almost shags Gary's. The fat guy almost shags Gary's mother. That's like the comedy in the whole movie.
Oh. Yeah, I think I missed that part.
I don't know. There's that. There's also the lady who they all bring the pizzas to fuck, and her husband comes home.
Carmela?
Yeah, whatever her name was.
Her sailor boy comes home.
Yeah.
And the crabs bit.
Don't only two of them fuck her, and then the last one doesn't get to or something?
Well, that's like... Yeah, I feel like that's the theme through the whole movie is that two of them get to fuck and then Gary's kind of like left in the dark.
You know, there's a bit.
No, that's not true though. They fuck the prostitute. They all get crabs.
Right, I did see that part where they were buying the crab killer.
No, but I don't think he goes through with it. I think he just gets down there and then gives up and goes because she starts to complain the moment Gary steps up from the prostitute. She's like, "Oh, you were worthless" or whatever. So I think.
I mean, honestly, the comedy in this movie, I mean,
they measure everyone's wangs. They measure everyone's wangs. That's hilarious.
You know, but I think a lot of the comedy in this movie revolves entirely around Gary not being able to get any.
Yeah,
it's like his sexual failures, just left and right.
God, I don't know why I picked it. Maybe I saw something in it.
Yeah, this is a weird one, having seen... So, for people who don't know, years and years ago, when Moe and I first did a podcast together, we talked about hot dog, hamburger, and lemon popsicle. And for some reason, setting the movie in Israel in the 50s made the kind of clumsy sexual exploits of the cast kind of fairly humorous, fairly charming, and anything that didn't kind of quite make sense or anything that kind of seemed a little off, you put it down to well, it was the 50s in Israel, and there's and you're reading subtitles, and therefore, like, there's probably a language gap or an understanding gap, or the culture is different, or whatever it is. Like, you just kind of, a lot of the stuff that happens in the movie, you kind of explained away through those things, and it was sort of charming and bumbly for the first half, and then really sad and depressing, because obviously the 1950s in Israel, not a place where you necessarily want to go get an abortion, right? So when that happens in the movie, it has actual stakes. It has actual weight to it. It has actual issues. The biggest problem with Last American Virgin is, as I say, it updates it to the 80s. And so and it makes them like high school kids, and they all seem to be, certainly 2 or 3 of them, all seem to be far more like not knowledgeable so much about sex, but like are already having adult sex and talk about sex all the time in a not realistic way. Yes, we all as teenagers thought about sex all the time, but we didn't talk about it in this way or do it in this way. And so that felt really odd. And then the second half with the whole abortion thing seems to lack the emotional weight that it should have. And it seems all too easy, because while that one sequence where he's going around to get the money and then you're seeing her like strapped up into the stirrups and stuff is definitely like, unnerving and unpleasant, as it should be. The next sequence, like they're laughing with each other, they're playing house in his grandma's house with the Christmas tree and everything. And it's all just sort of, it doesn't, and then they're just like, well, we were off skiing. We weren't really. She went and got an abortion, but we were pretending that we're off skiing. And then like everything's all right. And then he goes to a birthday party and she's off in the kitchen with the guy again. Like, updating it to the 80s and not really rewriting the script or getting an American voice to kind of do a pass on it and make it more either humorous or slapstick or something kind of renders this one a little, I don't know, just a little gross to watch in a weird way. Does that make any sense at all?
I thought it was creepy when he let her bike ties down. That's pretty creepy, isn't it?
What?
As well. He lets her bike ties down, so he has to take her to school, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty creepy.
Oh, I didn't see a scene where he let her bike ties down.
Yeah. He lets the air out of the tire on her scooter so that he can be the hero and offer her a ride to school.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
What a prick.
It's not quite Darth Vader level, but it's still
like he basically stalks her for a while.
But it's also, what's also weird about it is no one acts in this movie like they know each other 60 seconds after they have a scene with each other. Like every scene, like I get that Boaz Davidson, who wrote it, said, well, this is what happens at the end. The woman I'm in love with, because it's based on his childhood apparently, which is also disturbing. But, basically the storyline is woman I'm in love with goes off with my best friend and I have to help her through an abortion, right? So that's the basic storyline. And then the rest of the thing, he hangs onto that storyline a bunch of set pieces, essentially, like sex-related sex pieces. Sex pieces. He creates a bunch of sex pieces, which I believe is what they called it in France in 1963. Sets up a bunch of set pieces in which these 3 characters kind of go do stuff, but like none of the characters, there's even a sequence in the movie where they say to Rick, the fat kid and Gary say to Rick, like, oh yeah, we've been seeing this redhead and having sex with her 9 times and da-da-da-da-da. And then the next scene, they go down the road and she's a prostitute and they seem surprised that they have to pay her. Like nobody knows anything and nobody says anything. Like it just doesn't. And that happens like throughout the movie. Like nobody says anything to anyone like a human being. And you don't get any sense of their characters or anything. And maybe I'm looking too deep into it and whatever.
No. I agree with you. That's sort of my bigger complaint with The Last American Virgin versus Lemon Popsicle. Like I think Lemon Popsicle is a significantly better movie, even though it's essentially the same thing. Also, they didn't make 7 sequels to The Last American Virgin, thank goodness. But there are 7 Lemon Popsicle sequels.
It's crazy.
It's fucking insane.
Does he learn his lesson by the end?
No.
Stop fucking open around.
No, every single one ends with him driving off crying as the girl of his dreams is back with the other boy.
But with each sequel, it has to get more and more ridiculous. So at the end of the first one, she's kissing him in the kitchen. The end of the second one, she's giving him head in the shed. By the end of the third one, they're like full-blown having sex on a ottoman in the middle of the gymnasium at school. By the fourth one, she's taken 3 guys. No, I'm joking.
At the end of the fifth one, she's taking it up the butt. You don't even want to know what happens
in the sixth and the seventh one.
Involves farm animals.
Yeah, it involves farm animals and someone dressed up as Bigfoot. It gets really disturbing.
But I mean, yeah, so if you take the movie as individual scenes, then there's a lot of fun to be had in the movie. But you're right. As a whole, it doesn't work as well as it could.
And I think it's one of the few where, because it's not, like normally in these movies, as we'll get onto with Hamburger and Splitz, it's like 30-somethings playing high school kids, right?
Right.
And you kind of, or college kids, and you kind of like, all right, okay, I'll accept it when they're all running around nude. Or, as is so often the case, both in Animal House, which obviously kind of starts this trend, but it's a college kid with a much older woman, right? So there's not like quite the creep factor. But the problem with Last American Virgin is because it's meant to be, it's mostly an unknown cast at that time, and they're all mostly of age. So while they're all over 18, it's still that like, ooh factor. I don't know that I'm a 40-year-old man. I don't know that I want to be watching this anymore. I mean, when I was 18, it would have been different. But like now, it's just when you watch it, you're like, all right, I guess it's fun and breasts and whatever. But like at the end of the day, it I don't know. This was of all 4 of them, this was the one I had the least fun with.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, and then of course you've got the whole Brian Peck thing, which is awkward.
Brian Peck thing? Remind me of that?
Okay, so Brian Peck is...
I just watched this morning and I still don't remember.
Brian Peck is the fat kid.
Oh, right, yeah.
He would later go on to be probably more well known for his role in Return of the Living Dead.
Return of the Living Dead, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he went on in his career to be a dialogue coach or something to that effect for like Nickelodeon, where he was, I don't know if he was ever proven or if it was just accusations of, some misconduct with the children actors. So,
oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, look, and was selected by Bryan Singer to be his partner on the X-Men commentary.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. Way to bum us out with, like...
It's already a depressing movie.
Hey, everybody, did you know that Hollywood is horribly predatorial and they all stick together and defend each other and give each other work? Fuck. All right, you just put me in a really... I did not know that.
Yeah.
All right, then.
You thought you picked wrong, didn't you, Andrew?
Yeah.
I feel so much better about my decisions in life now, Paul.
Andrew, do you have any... I don't want to talk about it anymore, Mo. Shut your face. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. What did you want to say?
I don't know.
No, I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know. You see, you thought that picking 4 funny, casual 80s sex romp movies, we would be having a nice, funny, casual conversation. But no, each one of these movies needs to be seen through the prism of an ultra-PC, disgusting world in which Hollywood is horribly predatory and everything's awful and, Trump's still president. And
Yeah, but here's the thing. We've got Splitz and Hamburger coming up next, and those two... Oh wait, yeah, there's still some stuff, but it's not as bad.
It's not as bad, and at least those two are legitimate romps. Like there's an actual romp element, and the Revenge of the Nerds is a romp as well. But
like honestly, the 2 other movies we should have watched were Hot Dog and King Frat. That's what we probably should have watched. But
yes.
Instead
we watched Revenge of the Nerds.
I wanted to class it up. I didn't realise the backstory.
Oh, God, that's so depressing now. Andrew, did you have any more comments on The Last American Virgin?
Well, not now. No, I mean, no, it wasn't. It was my least favorite of the. I didn't love any of these, but this one I really didn't enjoy in the slightest.
Yeah, I think by picking this subject matter, we're sinking this. So let's. I just, you know what I mean? Like, it's so much more fun to pick, like, the reason why I go on about, like, some of the stuff that we pick for these New Year's shows is it's better to pick something that you would assume would be good, but is actually awful, that we can all have a good laugh at, than something that's meant to be, like, fun and enjoyable, but it's actually super fucking depressing and awful and shows up the worst of humanity.
Well, we did that last with the John Ritter thing, didn't we?
Ugh.
Wait, John Ritter, again, meant to be fun and enjoyable, but actually, like, lots of really terrible movies, and we all had fun talking about them.
Yeah, I forgot it was John Ritter last year.
It was, yeah. Just when you thought, like, the only thing that I came out of the John Ritter episode is how on earth did he continue to have a career? That was his main, that was the main thing, considering 95% of the films he made were fucking awful. Boaz Davidson, of course, who made The Last American Virgin, would go on to do a ton of action films.
See, that's why I picked it.
Still working today, right? He did a bunch of action movies.
Yeah, do the Expendables?
Well, he did Rambo New Blood, I know that much. He did The Mechanic Resurrection. He did all the London Has Fallen movies and stuff. He did do the Expendables as executive producer.
See?
Yeah, he's done
Guy's
a bunch
genius.
of things as yeah, but he also did the Wicker Man remake as a producer. So let's not give him too much credit.
Yeah, well, fuck him.
He also did Shark Attack 3, Megalodon, and
so let's give him more credit.
Crocodile 2, Death Swamp, and Octopus 2, River of Fear. So yeah, he's been around. Let's just say that he's been around a bit.
Let's say he's had a mixed bag.
A mixed bag. Well, he wrote Boyka, Undisputed. And he wrote Undisputed 2, Last Man Standing. And he wrote Ninja and Ninja Shadow of a Tear. But he also wrote Shark Man, Lava, Mansquito, Alien Hunter, the James Spader movie that I covered recently on the After Movie Diners Sleazy Spader series. And
John, we get it. The man has written a lot of really great movies.
Really great movies. Really, really great movies. And this one. All right. So with the horrible, horrible, horrible specter of Bob Peck leering over us, let us do The Last American... Oh, is it Brian Peck? Sorry, Brian Peck looming over us. Sorry. To Bob Peck, whoever he is. The Last American Virgin question for this New Year's Eve show. The Last American Virgin is a plot-for-plot remake of the Israeli film by director Boaz Davidson, Lemon Popsicle. While Virgin didn't generate any sequels, how many did Popsicle generate? Is the answer
7.
2?
I've already answered that.
No, but hang on a second. Is the answer 2? 4 sequels, a remake, a matching duvet cover and pillowcase set. 7 sequels, a reboot, a spin-off, and a remake. Or 56 sequels, a handkerchief set with matching pajamas, a TV series, an animated series, a Netflix reboot, and a sideline in novelty, I just had an abortion hat.
God, I wish the answer was the last one, but we know I know it's 7.
Okay, Doc?
You're not fooling me. It's all of them.
And Andrew?
What was the one with the duvet? I'd like the one with the duvet.
He just wanted to say duvet.
He did. Andrew is trying to come out of this podcast as the cultured, unscathed one. What was the one with the duvet?
Duvet. I like that one.
All right. Well, Mo, you have won a lifetime supply of disappointment. The disappointment will be delivered to your living room daily via a series of grinning pillocks on your goggle box. We'll also mail you a mauve sweater that doesn't quite fit and makes you look a bit like a twat.
I'd wear it too.
Yes, he would. All right. So on to the next movie. I think we do Hamburger the Motion Picture next and leave the best till last. What does everyone else say?
I agree. Let's do the best for last and save Hamburger the Motion Picture for the last movie.
Oh, this is going to come down to Moe and I fighting over which is better, Hamburger or Splitz.
Let's do Hamburger now, and we'll do Splitz last.
Are your parents encouraging you to get a college education?
Let me kill him!
Have we got a school for you? Forget Harvard. Forget Princeton. Learn to earn big bucks fast.
Beef plus buns equal bucks.
Come to Buster Burger University.
Fall in over here.
And see Hamburger, the motion picture.
We're here to learn to run a Buster Burger franchise. A lot of bull in every bite. A lot of bull in every bite.
But you'll get more than just an education at Buster Burger U.
Are you crazy?
You'll be stimulated by a student body that shares your interest.
Real neat.
You'll find a faculty that really cares about you. On-the-job training will get you ready.
Can I, Buster, help you?
For the fast-paced world of fast food.
All I ever wanted was to be a Buster Burger manager.
America, you're getting burger hungry. Hungry for the burger that makes you full. You're chopping for the taste of a Buster Burger. Our famous Buster Burger that's full of fun. The one and only Buster Burger that's full.
Buster Burger, America's favorite drive-thru restaurant. Hamburger, the motion picture. It's funny enough to eat.
All right, Mo, you picked Hamburger, so go through the plot, sir.
All right, so Hamburger basically revolves around this. What would you want to call him? Like he's not a sex addict, but like everywhere he goes, women are jumping all over him. So
it's the implausible tale that the side character from one of the boys finally gets his own movie and is apparently irresistible to all women at all times.
Right. But there's a clause in his grandfather's will or something like that he can't have any of that money until he has a college degree or something to that effect. So,
but because he keeps fucking everyone, he keeps getting kicked out.
Fucking everybody. And the movie actually opens up with him fucking the psychologist that they bring him to so that they could talk to him about him fucking everybody, which is hilarious. But so he decides to go to Hamburger University. I don't know if that's what it's actually called, but it's where he can become a manager of one of these chains of, I forget what the fuck the name of the
Buster Burger.
Yeah, Buster Burger. There he is. Buster Burger University. There he is. and hijinks ensue and all sorts of food related humor and yada yada yada.
Yes. This was based as a parody.
This was actually written about Boaz Davidson's life.
No. Boaz Davidson never got laid, remember. I love how Boaz Davidson basically made a movie.
Still hasn't.
Yeah, still hasn't after all these movies he's produced. I love how he made a movie
Israeli virgin
where he was like, by the way, I'm a sad, pathetic person who doesn't even know how to talk to a woman and falls in love with a woman who ends up getting an abortion at first sight. Which is equally ridiculous. Anyway, Hamburger the Motion Picture. Yes, Buster Burger University was based on the McDonald's University, where there was apparently a McDonald's University where they would literally train people to become managers of McDonald's. The movie has the best theme song ever written to a film, hands down.
Hamburgers for America.
America, you're getting burger hungry for the burger that makes you full. It's so good. It's like the best thing ever.
America, you're getting burger hungry for the burger that makes you full. You're chomping for the taste of a Buster Burger, our famous Buster Burger that's full of bull. Thick, rich shakes, crispy French fries, our double big Buster like bullets satisfies. Our people are friendly, our stores are clean too, and nothing but home is waiting for you.
Someone sat down and they had to write 2 songs about burgers, and they wrote the best 2. After that, there should have been no songs written ever again, because these 2 songs were just the best 2 songs ever written about burgers, and that should have just ended America right there. Just done. It was
put
fantastic.
those over Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
It makes it a better film.
Yep.
But lots of hijinks ensue. There is in fact, we should start kind of compiling cliches that happen in these films. There has to be a diverse bunch of characters. One of the characters has to be kind of a black-rimmed spectacle with tape on it, kind of nerdy geek person. Someone has to make off with either the dean's wife or an older woman, or someone they meet delivering pizza or something like that. There has to be a horrible representation of race in it. There has to be a horrible representation of homosexuality in it. And it has to have some sort of rock music. The one thing we didn't mention about Last American Virgin is Canon Films, who put it out, clearly bought 5 popular songs of the day and then just played them on repeat throughout the movie. They literally
but that's fine though, because they work and like they're recognizable, so you're actually like listening to music and like, oh good, this is actually something I know.
But I've never seen a movie where they used the same song like more than twice.
Right. Yeah.
I think they play ooh 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 ah 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 like
I would though
4 times.
I would. You know what? If you're gonna give Lionel Richie a check for $100,000, you know what? You take the piss, don't you?
Yeah, you
I'd have had it continually playing
throughout the thing. But with Hamburger, though, they go one further. They write their own music, which immediately elevates it.
Almost any corner of almost every town, on every lonely highway you'll ever travel down, you're gonna find a burger shop, Americana, mom and pop. How long? There ain't no telling. And they've been out there selling hamburgers for America. Yeah, hamburgers for America. It's in their blood, it's their tradition. It's almost like they're on a mission. Selling hamburgers for America. If you stand real still and listen, you can hear them in the kitchen. You can smell the French fries frying, and you can hear the patties sizzling. Sliced tomatoes, cheese and bacon, soda pop and shakes are shaking. And while you're listening and looking, it makes you proud to know they're cooking hamburgers for America.
What other kind of cliches are there in the romp genre? Sort of the farcical elements, I guess, getting discovered in flagrante, or in this case, when they're up in a helicopter, there's a whole helicopter chase that's caused by, like in Last American Virgin, they roll down a sandbank in a classic car into the sea because during making out at like Makeout Point or whatever, they knock the handbrake off and go rolling down the hill. In this one, 3 people in a helicopter, while 2 of them were trying to have sex, literally take off in a helicopter and have a whole sequence bouncing around in a helicopter naked. Which
and the
is
Chinese restaurant thing under the table.
Mm-hmm.
Right, yes. I don't know, I mean...
That's pretty wrong as well, isn't it?
Why? Because he doesn't ask her permission?
Well, he don't know, does he?
No, but I'm just saying...
Bring this one down too, Paul?
Huh?
Are you trying to bring this one down as well?
No, I'm just saying.
But she clearly goes up to him at the party the night before and says, you know, I want to have sex with you.
Yeah,
Like
there's definitely implied consent there at the very least.
Moe's like, can we not go there again, please? Getting a little difficult under the collar. Also, it's played again for like ridiculous laughs. It's not played for any kind of in Revenge of the Nerds, he sort of gets in Revenge of the Nerds. It's legitimately creepy because when he sees her walk off to the Hall of Mirrors, the look on Robert Carradine's face is like, "I've had an idea," Whereas this is more, I don't know, it's more rompish, it's more cartoony, it's more, I don't know, it's kind of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. I thought of another.
I know you agree with me. I'm waiting for some of the two others who aren't sick and perverted to agree with me.
No, I agree. It's kind of.
Now we're waiting for the other one who's not sick and perverted to do it.
He's like, I would have liked it to have been under a duvet.
That would be my ideal situation, yeah, but obviously they can do that. It's a Chinese restaurant. Where are you going to find a duvet in a Chinese restaurant?
I don't know. I don't even know the Chinese word for duvet, so I wouldn't be able to.
It's duvet. I did think of another trope or stereotype, whatever you want to call it, that's in, it's not in all of them, but it's in a fucking lot. There's always the fat guy who's obsessed with food.
Yeah, the fat guy. Yeah, well, that came under the diversity thing, but yes, there has to be a comical fat guy. Yes,
comical fat guy.
There are some genuinely funny moments in it, though, in this film.
Oh, Hamburger is hilarious.
Were you expecting there to not be?
Yeah.
I love Hamburger. I think it's such a fun, stupid movie.
Hamburger is fantastic. There's one character that vocalizes some things that I have real problems with, and everything else I really like.
I think that bit with the where his dad's choking him on the settee, and he pulls him off, and then all of a sudden she starts on him.
Yeah,
he's fucking brilliant. Yeah. I was really laughing at that bit. It's good.
If anything, there's two problems with Hamburger. One is Dick Butkus's horrible racism, but that is undercut by the fact that he's called Dick Butkus, so we all have the last laugh there, I think. And the other one is the lead guy Lee McCloskey? Is that the lead guy?
I think it is, yeah.
The only other problem is that Lee McCloskey is a bit of a smug twat. And I think it would be nicer if, as he's meant to be found, irresistible to women, if he was a bit nicer about it. Does that make sense? Like if, you know what I mean? Like if he was slightly nicer and slightly more nervous. Like if there was comedy out of the fact that he was attractive to women rather than him just being, a jerk. Do you know what I mean? Like if it was more like when women, when outrageously attractive women are attracted to Woody Allen in a movie, it's always funny because you're like, well, he's ridiculously idiotic looking. And therefore it's kind of funny when but again, oh my God, I've just stepped in another nest of vipers bringing up Woody Allen. But, you know what I mean? Like when the nerdy, nebbish, weird looking guy, when a woman is massively attracted to him, there's comedy there. In this movie, it's just women massively attracted to a bit of a smarmy, smug, good-looking prick, and that's not as funny.
No, there's not much humility about the bloke, is there?
Right.
I mean, it is pretty funny when women are attracted to me, though. So,
I think it's lovely.
I mean, I do too.
Andrew, you said that you've hated all of these films. So what was your biggest problem with Hamburger?
Hamburger I didn't mind. I mean, it was so absurd and just crazy over the top with everything that...
Welcome to Romps.
Yeah.
After the halfway point, I was like, okay, I kind of get it now. Because going into it, I'm like, this is ridiculous and stupid. And I know it's supposed to be ridiculous and stupid, but...
Yes.
I didn't buy into it until halfway through. And I actually enjoyed... probably this one more than the other ones, even potentially more than Revenge of the Nerds after the rewatch. Mm-hmm. Although I did not get to watch Splitz. It's the one I didn't make it to.
So you're making a judgment against the best movie of the four of them. I see.
Yeah, and I managed to see clips of it, so that one was not well. But this one, I didn't. The only issue I had with this one, realistically, was that main character, the smug prick. He didn't really have any kind of character arc through the entire thing. It was just he was the same dick at the end that he was at the beginning, except he managed to band together a bunch of hapless losers to, sort of maybe run a hamburger joint, I guess.
Yeah.
Even though they really fucked it up and destroyed the place.
Yeah. No,
that's a bit like a Bible story.
It's a parable for life. But.
Is that what it is? Is Russell really a Jesus metaphor? Bands together with 12 other hapless losers.
With the guy from Friday the 13th.
Yeah, to run a hamburger store in the desert. It's totally what it's all about. Because if we haven't offended people yet, bringing up Jesus in relation to Hamburger the movie will only endear us further to the listening several, I'm sure. To me, what I like about this is, it's like, Kentucky Fried Movie meets Animal House kind of thing. Like, it's got a slapstick. It bothers to try and be actually funny. It bothers to have actual, farcical slapstick elements. It bothers to be, weird and creative, like the whole mad scientist creating, pickle people and stuff and turning one guy into a chicken and things like that. All of that is... I super love all that, weird creativity and madness. I love that they have, a church sermon where all he does is stand up and talk about hamburgers and beef. It's so mad. And I think that what I like about this movie is there's, someone's taken the idea of a hamburger university and genuinely come up with some creative things to do with that, and some weird creative things to do with that. I think that is slightly at odds with the sex romp elements of the film, which are slightly more, at least they're played for laughs, but they're slightly more, they slightly clash with the whole hamburger stuff, but at least it's played for laughs and things. I do, rewatching it this time round, I do have a real problem with some of the things that Dick Butkus says in the movie right from the beginning, and also the whole Magneto Jones thing, and the fact that the only African American character in the movie is in handcuffs the whole movie is just, I know it's a joke, but I don't know. It's just, it would be fine if that was a joke, and it was a joke that was making a commentary that everyone was on the side of, but Dick Butkus says, and not as a joke, as a serious thing. He's like, well, we had to prove that we were inclusive, so we literally took a black guy out of prison. That's, I had a real problem with that. Outside of that, though, when Druten, Dick Butkus' character, is not on screen, or when he's on screen and being made fun of, I've no problem with the film. Because the rest of the film is fairly, harmless fun. Even the sex stuff in it's harmless fun. The Russell pretending to be gay for a moment so that the South American gorilla woman won't have sex with him is again a little problematic, but it's not massively derogatory. It's just problematic. Whereas
I thought it was funny.
The race. Well, yeah, but the racist stuff is really problematic, because that character relishes in it, and because that character is making no bones about the fact that he is a racist character, and it's not even played for laughs. It's just no, I'm flat out racist, and that's just weird in this movie. That just doesn't fit with everything else in this film.
But here's the thing.
He is the joke of the film, isn't he?
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
He is. Yes, he is the joke.
He's the butt of the jokes. He's he gets his comeuppance constantly. So I mean, he ends up finishing the film with the potential to being a vice president and fucking it up and ending up being the fucking trash boy.
He is picking up trash while Magneto Jones is singing the theme song and everyone's clapping along with him. So yeah, totally, right. I get that. I get that about as much as I get the fact that the woman is hugging Robert Carradine at the end of Revenge of the Nerds, so we're meant to forgive what happened earlier. I don't know. Sits weirdly with me, but the rest of Hamburger is awesome. I love all the beef puns and the hamburger puns. I love the mad chicken guy. I love the church service with the guy talking about beef and stuff. I love the destruction of the restaurant by all the fat guys that get off the tram. I think all of that is fun, romp, stupid Kentucky Fried Movie type material.
Bull is our business.
Bull is our business.
A lot of bull in every bite.
A lot of bull in every bite.
We reserve the right to refuse service to assholes like you.
We reserve the right to refuse service to assholes like you.
Put those cookies back, motherfucker.
Put those cookies back, motherfucker.
Doc?
Yes. Yeah, I agree. You know, it was just a fun film. It was another one of those. It'd only get made in the 80s. I mean, what you said about with the black character with the handcuffs on. I mean, if that was made sort of now, it'd be quite a knowing joke.
Yeah, sure. If you had a character like that in a film that was, you know, written by or produced by or directed by well-known African-American comedians, then yes, that would be making a statement or making a joke. But
But I think once the fact that the character who's predominantly racist in the film gets the comeuppance, then it's kind of shown, you know what, dickheads get the comeuppance. So, if you know what I mean, in a strange roundabout way, that's how it's kind of can be justified, I suppose.
Yeah, true. We have to all like this movie because the guy who directed it, Mike Marvin, also directed The Wraith with Clint Howard.
There you go, then.
Yeah, reason enough to love it. Andrew, any comments on Hamburger the motion picture?
No, like I said, this was the one that I probably end up enjoying the most, weirdly, because it had, you know, fair share of tits in it, and it was genuinely amusing in places. And
we haven't mentioned tits enough, I feel like.
Not at all.
Yeah, we've been talking about way too serious shit. Let's talk about the tits. Thank you.
Sorry, Andrew. Keep going, dude.
No, that's my two contributions to this, is duvet and tits. So I feel my work here is done.
I tell you what, I have a great...
A gentleman and a scholar.
I have a great Hammond organ album by Tits Duvet from 1964. It was...
this was fun.
Tits Duvet goes Hawaiian.
Is that Boots Randolph's cousin?
Sorry, Andrew, you were saying. Sorry, dude.
No, like I said, it became so absurd that it was enjoyable. I mean, when it got past that point where I saw that I wasn't going to go back in any way or try and redeem itself in any way, that it was really committed to, this is a Hamburger university where people go to learn how to make hamburgers, and there's the chicken dude and this, you know, weird shit going on all the time.
And the punishment is you get put inside a giant pickle and have torture juice squeezed on
chamber.
Hey, Andrew, can I ask you a question that I'm fairly certain I already know the answer to?
Oh, God, yeah.
How versed in teen sex romps were you before coming into this?
I was weirdly a lot, because it was something I rented a lot when I was a teenager, because it was one of those things that my parents didn't fully understand, so I was told okay to rent them. So like all the Revenge of the Nerds movies and Ski School and Ski School, like that I watched a lot of that shit. So it wasn't that I didn't. And back then I loved them for what they were. I really did enjoy them because they had that kind of, you know, inappropriate humor, and it had, you know, naked people, and it was great. And I was raised in a predominantly Christian household, so it was kind of a wonderful little escapism. But yeah, as looking back at them, I have a harder time with them now, but I have a hard time with comedies in general these days.
Because you're such a serious person now.
No, it's
something like that.
But it's not that. Like, I remember watching, because I did an episode with, and I forget who the guy who guested on the show, but he was from another podcast. But I did an episode where I have this theory that 90s comedies are not funny anymore, and they were funny to all of us in the 90s, but they're not funny anymore.
I didn't think they were funny in the 90s.
We watched Austin Powers 1, we watched Ace Ventura, and I forget what the third one was. I think it was an Adam Sandler movie. I forget which one it was, but I picked like 3 90s movies that were known as being hugely successful at the time. And it's funny because watching Ace Ventura now, for example, while the early shtick is very funny and there's some good bits in it, the whole joke at the end, that the big joke is that Einhorn is Finkel, so she's a guy dressed up as a woman, and then everyone in the whole movie basically throws up at the idea of that notion, like, is really problematic now. It's just, I mean, I get it, but like the idea that the most repulsive thing you could have ever possibly done is kiss a man is just sort of, it's really weirdly problem. Like, I remember watching it being like, why doesn't this sit well with me anymore? And I'm like, because that shouldn't be a joke. It shouldn't have been a joke in the 90s. It certainly shouldn't be a joke now. But so yeah, there are things that don't sit well with me about these movies. But what's interesting, Andrew, and I agree with you, is that obviously, like, back when you were a teenager watching these movies, you really enjoyed them and you got along with them. And that kind of goes back to what I was trying to say earlier, and I'm not sure that it kind of came across right. But like, there's a reason why you need movies like this in the world, because when you're 14 to 18 and you're going through a period, especially as a guy, where all the heterosexual guy, and sorry, that sounds bad, especially as a guy. I'm sure women go through their own things from 14 to 18. I'm sure they wish that there was sex romps made for women with lots of guys' butts and penises in it. I don't know. Maybe they do. I don't know. And that should be fine too. Please watch movies with butts and penises in it. But I'm just saying, like, when guys, heterosexual guys from 14 to 18, they need an outlet for, like, some of the more weirder, fucked up things that they might be thinking about sex. And having movies like this to watch and laugh at the time kind of, I don't know, takes the edge off some of the questions they might be having about either their sexuality or their life. I think, you know what I mean? And without those movies, I kind of wonder what you end up doing. Like I say, you probably end up turning to actual porn and watching that instead. And that is awash with its own problems even now. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I think it makes sense.
I think you're wrong.
But I think I think sitting, yeah, and I think you're right though. Like, sitting watching it as a 40-year-old guy, I can, like, find humor in a lot of it, and I can find problems with other stuff. But you know what? That's life. I find problems and humor with lots of things.
I can't be honest. I thought Ace Ventura was fucking shit in the 90s.
Quite possible too, sir. Quite possible too. But yeah, I mean, I think Hamburger is probably the most fun of the 4 movies. It's the most just flat out stupid fun. And I mean, they all are all 4 of these movies are technically romps, but Hamburger is definitely the rompiest of them. Yeah. And Mike Marvin, who directed it, did also produce Hot Dog, the movie. He was a co-producer on Hot Dog, the movie. So
it makes sense.
He's 2 for 2 on this movie.
Yeah.
And he's got, you know what? It's done quite well. It doesn't look cheap. I mean, they've spent money on sets to a certain degree.
They spent money on that giant fake pickle.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a goddamn helicopter scene, and they destroy a car and an entire restaurant. So, I mean.
Yeah, and not only that, but, like, the giant pickle thing is super weird as well, because there's a scene during the montage which seems to imply that the pickles they use in Buster Burger restaurants are birthed by a larger pickle. He seems to cut a larger pickle open and then be like, "Oh, look, twins," and he pulls.
Well, it's not even like that though. It's like they're doing some kind of surgery on the larger pickle, and the pickle dies. And they're like, even in death, and he holds up another fucking pickle. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I'm sorry, that whole montage where the older guy, Mr. Vunk, is saying to them what you say if someone comes into your restaurant is fucking hilarious. Put those cookies down, motherfucker. And it's amazing later on when the little girl goes to get the cookies off the counter and, like, the entire
and they all stop.
Like, shit like that, I think, earns this film a place because I think it's so fucking funny and creative in parts, and even the bits where it's a little problematic, it makes up for it by being genuinely funny and enjoyable. I love the fat guy electrocuting himself and then bumping into everyone and then making it seem like it's a pool party and all that stuff. The only thing that doesn't make any sense is that Old Man Funk comes out of the thing and he's like, oh, goody, a pool party, and jumps in the pool. But he's the guy who's making the rules that at Hamburger University you're not allowed to have sex and you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. But he's all down for a pool party involving
Why
his
wasn't it a
wife
pool party anyway?
Yeah, right.
There's a fucking pool there.
Get in it and enjoy yourself.
That's like having a barbecue on and going, oh, we're having some food. And you go, nah, just cooking.
Yeah, I'm just microwaving up a couple of hamburgers when I could be grilling them. But yeah, I mean, it's so much fun. And I'm sorry, those songs, Hamburgers for America and Buster Burger is two of my favorites. It's also super weird because they seem to be making their hamburgers out of bull meat, which seems weird to me because it should be cow meat. If you kill all the bulls, you won't have any more cows. So it seems odd to me, but it also seems odd.
So good.
It also seems odd that he breeds a half man, half chicken for reasons, and then that guy lays an egg. That's also
my God,
weird.
it's good.
Like, what are they trying to do? Farm him off as a chicken? Like, I don't get it. Anyway, lots of good fun, and let us go to the Hamburger, the motion picture quiz question. I know you're all super excited about these questions. Here we go.
I'm jizzing in my shorts as we speak.
Randy Brooks, the actress, in inverted commas, who plays Mrs. Vunk in Hamburger the Motion Picture, appeared in episodes of Knight Rider, T.J. Hooker, and The Master in the 80s, playing alongside the oozing masculinity of William Shatner, David Hasselhoff, and Lee Van Cleef. She also appeared in an episode of Hardcastle and McCormick, but not everyone is perfect. Which leading man of the 80s most impressed Brooks with his bush? Number 1, Shatner's wig bush. 2, Hasselhoff's pants bush. Lee Van Cleef's upper lip bush. Or Jim Varney's arse bush on an episode of Stephen J. Cannell's short-lived show The Rousters from 1983, which is a real thing, and she also guest starred on that. Doc, which one do you think it is? Shatner, Hasselhoff, Lee Van Cleef, or Jim Varney?
Well, I'd sort of, because that's the weird one at the end, I'd go with that. But Shatner's in there.
Shatner's in there. Okay.
And you always wanted to be Captain Kirk, so
yeah, I've got to go with the Shat.
Okay, Andrew, what's your guess? Which leading man of the 80s most impressed Brooks with his bush?
I think it's got to be Hasselhoff.
Okay, Hasselhoff's pants bush. And Mo, which one do you pick?
I'm going to go with Lee Van Cleef's face bush.
Okay. Well, the right answer is that Randy Brooks is her own respectable, independent actress and doesn't need a man or a bush to exist and be successful. But she didn't mind running her fingers through Hasselhoff's mane.
Yes!
So Andrew won that, and congratulations, you've won a repeated robocall from a distraught Asian woman screaming about how you owe her $50 for an inflatable squirrel sex doll you had custom ordered from a sweatshop in the Guangdong province. You never pay her, and she dies from hunger alone on the toilet 5 years from now with the word "why" scrawled in shite across the bathroom mirror. You did that. You did it. You absolute bastard.
Not the first time, not the last time.
All right, so to wrap up this utter mistake of a New Year's Eve show, we're talking Splitz from 1982. This was my choice, and as IMDb describes it, an all-female rock band and a group of well-endowed sorority sisters. That's not true at all, by the way. That is incorrect, IMDb. Anyway, team up to save... In fact, there's even a joke in it about how one of the sisters is not well-endowed. Anyway... team up to save a sorority house slated for condemnation by the university. Actually, it's more complicated than any of this is letting on. Basically, there's an all-female rock band, and their manager, a guy in a sweater, and the woman in the rock band's father is a mafioso boss whose brother or son or cousin or whatever can't get laid. So meanwhile, there's a sorority house owned by the nerds that is going to be condemned and knocked down for a sewage plant because the sporty house and the basically popular girl house want to remain because the headmistress of this college weirdly sides with them. Andrew is having to leave, so say goodbye, Andrew, and tell everyone where they can find you.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. This has always been fun, guys. I just got to take my kid to work, so I gotta go. But
because Andrew puts his children to work like a slave master. Anyway,
that's hard. Got to pay this mortgage somehow.
Yeah.
You can find me at andrewbuckleyauthor.com or at wordsmithacademy.com. Those are two prime places at the moment.
Yep. Check out his books. Check out his videos, and thank you, Andrew, as always, for being part of the show, man. It's a great time.
Thanks, guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Andrew. All the best to the family,
He's got to
mate.
take his kid to Buster Burger University.
Yeah.
They never make it there. No, there's no chance.
No chance. But yeah, sorry, just quickly. So there's an evil headmistress. She doesn't want the nerd house to succeed. For some reason known only to the three rock and roll girls, they decide to help that sorority house out. There is, of course, like there is in all these movies, a sporting contest, and hijinks ensue, while at the same time, the mafioso's brother needs to hypnotize women in order to lull them into his bed. It all culminates in a big show at the palace, and lots of rock music and dance sequences and weirdness, and it's an absolute fucking delight. I love every single minute of this movie. Mo, did I miss anything in my rundown of the film?
No, that was pretty on point.
Yeah. So you've got all the cliches in place. You've got the nerds, only in this case, they're all female. You've got the overbearing headmistress who needs to get her comeuppance. You've got sporting events. You've got boobs. You've got, something inappropriately sexual like Tony, the mafioso guy, hypnotizing women. But again, that's all kind of played for fun and laughs. You don't really see him do anything too bad.
No, he just puts like 4 women into closets, but that's okay.
Listen, Mo, it was a different time, and it's got some. The most surprising thing about Splitz, considering it's pretty low budget and is pretty unknown. 2 things. First of all, the presence of Robin Johnson, who actually had something of a little kind of like career, very short career, but a career in the 80s, being sort of the kind of proto like 80s punk rock girl, kind of in the mode of the Runaways or something like that. But she was in Times Square, which is another movie where she kind of plays a kid who's into music, who runs away to New York City and stuff like that. She plays a punk girl in After Hours, the Scorsese movie. She's plays the lead guitarist and singer in this movie, Splitz. And she just has that like great 80s New York punk girl look. And you kind of wish she was in a ton more things. So it has that going for it. And it also has the music going for it. Because the music's like genuinely toe tapping, and while the lyrics aren't the most like fucking deep lyrics on the planet, like everyone in the movie is giving it the beans when it comes to the music.
I'm one of those guys who has a really hard time watching actors pretend to play instruments, and since I'm a drummer, watching the drummer of the band, who is clearly left-handed, pretend to play drums right-handed, it was driving me nuts the whole time. but other than that, I mean, like, she was relatively on beat. She was just playing everything backwards and in the wrong area, and it was killing me. The music is fun though. Doc, Mo and I have talked about this movie before, but Doc, what did you think of this film? Like, seeing it?
I didn't watch it. I don't have time to watch it.
So John,
It does sound good though.
So John, here's what we do. We just take the old episode where we talked about Splitz and just cut our conversation
just dump
out
it in
there.
here. No, I mean, very, very quickly then, highlights the music, highlights the...
It sounds very different. So it's like it's a female-led sex romp.
It's almost exclusively female cast, too. It's like there's like their manager who's technically the one telling the story, but... there's him, but then all of the sorority houses are all female, obviously, like there's like the gangsters who are men, but it's almost exclusively female cast.
And the gangsters are all played as fools, like they're all played as like bumbling idiots. Even Tony, who's the guy who's like having to go out and hypnotize people in order to get them to talk to him, he has so much like fun playing him, and is so like, you know what he's doing is awful, but at the same time you kind of like just empathize with him because he's so hopeless and so awful. And the way he plays him is like so like fucking New York, like, hey, I'm Tony and I'm trying to, like, he's so doing that role so well that it's so much fun for that. And also without him and without that subplot, you don't have the comeuppance of Shirley Stoller, who plays the matronly Dean Hunter, who gets hypnotized at the end and kind of sings this big raunchy number in front of the school board, only to kind of get her comeuppance kind of thing. There's some great little gags in it. Like, I love the disembodied voice on Dean Hunter's little intercom every time someone wants to come in and see the dean. We never get to meet whoever that is, but it's like a totally weird and funny addition to the film. The whole sequence where they go and try and book the palace, and it's like the two old mafioso guys, and they go to the guy who owns the palace or books out the palace, and he says he never recognizes them. And then one of them like steps on their glasses and does this little dance, and he's like, I would recognize those twinkle toes anywhere. And then they all start dancing around the office and stuff like that's totally mad and brilliant. There's a whole dance sequence in the diner that's something out of Grease 2, which is just brilliant. And also all the like little, what I noticed about Splitz again this time round is, unlike a lot of its contemporaries, while yes, there are a few boobs in it, but certainly not to any extent of the other three movies that we watched, is that even in the sequences where you'd think there would be more nudity, like they do a strip basketball game, right, and they do a wrestling game in their undies and stuff, I think it's only at the wrestling match when they
rip the bra off, yeah.
They rip her bra off, like, at the very end, where you even really see anything. Outside of that, it's not really played for... Oh, and there's the bit where Tony goes into or Tony is trying to go into the gym showers.
Are you confusing Tony and Vinny?
Oh, okay. I've been getting that all confused then.
That's all right.
It's Vinny. Okay. Yeah. He's just way down the cast list. I didn't expect
He's literally the last name on there, yeah. But yeah. He even does his, what is it, like Vinny Bag of Donuts joke that he has been pushing into the ground for the last 30 years.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, so I'm getting confused by that then.
That's all right.
But there's a case to be made that Splitz is a relatively female-friendly romp.
Without a doubt, yeah. I mean, there's basically like two nude scenes, which makes you realize that this, if this was a film about like a bunch of dudes, there'd be tits everywhere in it. Like, there would be no excuse to not have tits everywhere. You'd see the band naked a million times. It'd be nudity everywhere. No, I actually really appreciate the fact that they, that it's done from a female perspective for the most part, and and that it's not played cheap. It's really, I mean, there's so much goofy shit and stupidity and whatever. But yeah, Vinny's a bit of a creep, with the whole hypnotism thing. But it also works because they kind of had to show you that he knew what he was doing so that he could get away with, giving the deaner comeuppance at the end,
right?
Which is also hilarious,
right? And it also they make sure not to show him like actually having sex with someone while under hypnosis.
Right. Exactly.
Splitz feels to me a slightly more, outside of the whole hypnotism thing, which I'm sure someone could get up in arms about now. It's played so light in the movie, though, that it doesn't bother me. It's played for fun in the movie, so it doesn't bother me. And the rest of it is just so, like, light and fun and silly and of the times and full of great rock music and things that, I mean, I hasten to call it an undiscovered gem, but it certainly needs to be enjoyed by more people, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, and the fact is like that there are full on dance sequences in the film. Like, what? Like that whole scene in the fucking diner.
Yeah. I mean, at one point it basically becomes Electric Boogaloo.
You're right. Exactly.
Yeah. It's basically like Breakin' 2 or Grease 2 or one of those movies very quickly, but, it's a lot of fun. And Doc, yeah, it's not available on YouTube, sadly, but I sent you a copy of it. So it's worth a watch, man. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily sit your daughters down and be like, hey, here's a movie. But I mean, it's close to being one of those that I think
it sounds quite interesting. It sounds like it's coming out from a totally different angle.
It
sounds pretty good, actually.
Even what's interesting is even the lead guy, the male lead guy, their manager, is never sleazy towards them at all. He's not trying to bed any of them. He doesn't make out with any of them. It's not like there's no suggestion of that happening at all. And so even there's even like the big hulking character, like in Revenge of the Nerds, like Ogre in Revenge of the Nerds. There's a big hulking jock character who likes the drummer of the band, but instead of him being like an aggressor, he actually turns out to be this massive ally for them. Like he actually turns out to be like super sweet.
Right, exactly. He becomes their coach and ends up like, so like we had said before, there's always like the one like ridiculous fat person, so this one has no exception. There's, the ridiculous fat girl who I think is fucking adorable. She's like totally my type.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah. And he ends up falling for her at the end. And it's just so cute because he's like, oh, do you want to go to the last game of the series, the World Series with me? And she's like, I love baseball.
What's funny is she says, I love all sports, yet all the way through the movie, she's the problem with all the sports they try and play.
Right.
So she might love watching them. She doesn't love playing them, though.
But he does something else too that I think is just fucking adorable and actually reminded me of myself a lot. Is he gasses her up real good, where he's talking about like, well, you've already got a pretty good layup, if we could get your jump shot in, like it starts talking about how she could like go pro in basketball if she wanted to, and I'm like, that's fucking adorable.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a weirdly sweet film for a romp.
Yeah,
and it's not. I don't find it. It's certainly the least problematic of any of the other movies.
Sure.
And probably the most lovely in its own way. And I'm sure some people will watch it and be like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. But I don't know. I like it. I watch it not quite every year since you first showed it to me, Mo, but pretty much.
Mm.
It's a movie I like. And I love the songs in it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the music is great,
So this is not going to make any sense, my question for this movie. I mean, it still makes sense, but I thought it was someone else. But anyway. The Splitz question, to wrap this up, because it's getting late and I need to go cook dinner. The Splitz question is, Tony the Mobster is played by Sal Carollo, who also appeared in Serpico, Vigilante, Night Riders, Moscow on the Hudson, and even Lucio Fulci's The New York Ripper as Dog Walker, uncredited. Which other actor who appeared in Splitz also appeared in William Lustig's Vigilante from 1982. Is it number 1, Raymond Serra, number 2, Forbes Riley, number 3, Martin Rosenblatt, or number 4, Dom Herrera? Mo.
Well, is it Dom Herrera?
No, Doc.
Marty Rosenblum. Boom.
It's
What was it?
It's not him either. It's not Martin Rosenblatt, and it's not Martin Rosenbaum or whatever you say. So, unfortunately, neither of you win A Building Sense of Dread, which is the new CD of low-groaning organ music that switches on haphazardly from time to time to fill your home with a cold and eerie feeling that any minute you could be jumped from behind by Clint Howard brandishing a dirty toothbrush and a half-eaten chicken.
Joke's on you, I've already got it.
Had that one for years.
Yeah, right, on vinyl.
But anyway, gentlemen, thank you ever so much again for participating in yet another ridiculous New Year's special. I will spend the next 2 weeks editing this into a barely usable audio experience. Why don't you let the people know where they can find you if you want to be found, and maybe your resolutions for 2020?
You don't need to follow me anywhere. I wouldn't advise it. It's just a load of fucking rambling. Check out Dr. Action and the Kick-Ass Kid Commentary Podcast. Jon Cross is amazing. There you go.
Okay, as far as me, I would say, it's pretty easy to find me. You can go over to facebook.com/groups/no-budget-nightmares and join in the conversation there. That's always fun. I'm on Twitter at Drunk on VHS, but honestly, the last time I posted there was probably like 9 months ago. So, buyer beware. Find old episodes of No Budget Nightmare at nobudgetpodcast.com. And that's about it going on for me at the moment.
And do either of you have resolutions?
Yeah, it's about 1920 by 1080.
All right. Doc.
No.
All right. Excellent. Well, look, thanks ever so much, guys. Happy New Year, and let's talk again soon.
Happy New Year to all the listeners.
It'll be another year.
Another year, yes. Take care, everybody. Gotta go.
See you later.
Bye now.
Thank you. Bye.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Be full of greatness and full of good cheer. I don't want to hear all you hipsters sneer. Round here we love New Year. Oh, Christmas may be for families, and Easter's a big chocolate binge, and Halloween's a time to dress up, and Valentine is a time to get ye some minge. But New Year's a time for friends to get together and throw their hands and knees in the air and party into the wee small hours, drinking and loving with nary a care. So happy, happy New Year. Be full of friendship and all you hold dear, and in case before it was not made clear, around here we love New Year. I don't want to hear all you hipsters sneer, 'cause around here we love New Year. Well, your birthday is for you to be selfish, and an anniversary for you and your love. A holiday is a time for relaxation, or to have sex with a stranger in a warm furry glove. But New Year's the time for a party. I said out with the old and let's look ahead, and everyone gets a nice kiss at midnight, and the lucky few, they will end up in bed. So happy, happy New Year. Be full of laughter and be full of beer, and all of you naysayers talk out of your rear, 'cause round here